Hello, I believe everything's working. Test my audio. There we go. You should have heard that. Just the way the things are set up. Let's see. This is animation. It's kind of animation. Uh, animatic animation stuff. I guess drawing. It's gonna look like drawing. It's really gonna look like drawing for like the most of the time. Uh, However, it's going to be assembled into an animatic or an animation at some point. But that'll all be in OBS because that's easier. Uh, Not OBS. DaVinci. That'll be in DaVinci because that's easier. But anyway, I'm trying to get chat set up and like do all the things that I need to do at the beginning of stream. So let's just see what happens. If I could get everything set up in a timely manner. And right now you're looking at a blank white page. That is somewhat intentional. Hi. There we go. That's the little. I guess it's not much better. It's something to look at. Just getting everything set up though. So how are you doing today, chat? As I share the link thingies, the links exist. Let's see how this works. That is part one. 5, and then do whatever. We good? We good? And chat's open, and I think that's good otherwise. How are you doing, chat? I can erase that now. I'm also going to turn this into like a less glaringly like not great there we go. That's like just put put gray in the background, 18% gray. I don't know if that's 18% gray, but like the concept of just 18% gray for like white balancing a camera. Like I've got an 18% gray card or a couple. Although most cameras lately, like the newer ones, you can just do it internally. You don't need a card for it, which is very nice. I feel like I should like warm up or something. I feel like this kind of requires context. I'm drawing on the whatever. I'm drawing the wrong color on the thing. So, as the title says, I'm drawing my OCs in animatic form, I guess. The problem is, maybe not a problem, it's a good problem to have, is that I have, maybe not many OCs, but like the OCs that I'm focusing on have been ongoing. Oh, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. They've been ongoing for like many years, many years. So I have a lot of material. So it's not so much a question of like, what do I well, it is a question of what do I draw. But it's partly a question of like, from what time period do I draw things? And like, like what characters do I draw in like what state of being? Because different things have changed over time. So like this, I'm kind of feeling like turning this into. I believe it's over here. I believe it's like over. It's got like a. I'm gonna say cloak. It's not a cloak. It's incorrect to say it's a cloak, but it's sort of a something. So we got like many characters, and if I draw any of these characters in like a different draft, again, a different state of being, it's gonna be a completely different story than like if it was, you know, the next draft over or something. So it's also just me sketching at this point. So also different. I'm gonna take this color. I'm gonna make it like look natural to the like strange lines that I'm doing. Maybe not strange lines, but like it's the I'm gonna make it look natural to this color of blue that I'm using, even though that's not his actual hair color. Although that doesn't look good either. So also, I'm just sketching. So it's partly me deciding what, you know, like what to draw, like what animatic is gonna end up being a little bit more polished, or I could like hop between things. I'm gonna also put this. This is definitely a cloak. That was not a cloak. This is definitely a cloak. So like what I like drawing in a lot of colors. However, if I actually end up drawing stuff, I should probably pick like just solid line work, probably maybe a different brush, maybe. But I'm warming up, and so I use the colors that I want. Yeah, that is a cloak. He just looks so angry. He's angry, right? I didn't mean to make him angry. He's just kind of a grumpy character. I don't know, I mean, I have a whole, like, color scheme, too. Like, it's an entirely, like, I have a, like, okay, so this guy in blue, actually supposed to be, like, gold and, like, not that kind of green. Like green, like golden green. This guy is golden green. And although this guy is supposed to be, you know, like that's the sort of red and the blues there. That's supposed to happen. However, I'm drawing, and like this color is actually to go to a different character. So all the, you know, colors are sort of, maybe I guess color psychology. I all of the stuff that I have going for these characters are currently like not in play because I just want to draw in like a color, like whatever I happen to grab. So like although that is kind of, actually I could do well, okay. How about I make his hair not look like that, because I'm sure in one draft his hair kind of looks like that. That's a little bit better. If I can get the nose right. Also, like this, it's a funky sort of pen to be drawing with, I think, in comparison, I guess. I don't often see people drawing like this style of with this pen brush. I don't often see people drawing with this kind of brush. However, I enjoy drawing it. I'm just messing up his face now. I enjoy drawing it because it creates a kind of style that I'm just used to. Yeah, that just needs to be redone. Better. I think part of it is that there's unclear lines with his eyes right here. Is that better? And give him a fancy outfit. Hi, Scott, drawing. Who is this? It is I, the director. Yeah, I'm drawing this time. Can't say what I want to say. Howdy. It's Scott. Yeah, I'm actually drawing this time. I don't know. I thought I'd give it another go because I haven't actually tried drawing people. And I'm like, you know what people do I care about to draw? And I'm like, my OCs. It makes perfect sense. So yep, I'm drawing, but thanks for stopping by. Okay, this guy who I drew in like a orange, like a burnt umber sort of color, actually has like this sort of a thing going on. Like just various blues. Um like that sort of a thing. So also he's got like a little bit like a lighter. Yeah, so I just completely swapped around. I'm glad you read drawing correctly. Yeah. I mean you spelled it very distinctly, so yeah, so I'm completely swapping around the the actual like this guy is actually like it makes sense, sort of like a 3D glasses sort of thing, but also like maybe white, maybe like a little bit of like a light blue kind of a thing, and then maybe even going into like darker versions of each of these, maybe, well, darker and lighter versions of each of these. So you also got like the highlights. Yeah, that's what's happening. I don't know. This is also somewhat an experiment to see how comfortable I am drawing my OCs in front of the camera, because for the longest time I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna do that. I am not gonna do that. But I'm doing it now. And take out off those layers. I still got the background, and I can like I can yeah I can figure out the layers of like export individual frames if I need it later, or like copy it over to another file so I can have this individually later if I need it to. But right now I'm just sketching things. There's also another character who is associated with like orange or like a coppery sort of thing, because also these OCs started as D&D characters, so I might go into a little bit of like, oh yeah, these were once D&D characters. But we'll just see how confident I'm feeling about talking about my characters from the camera, because it's, I don't know, the getting used to, hey, these characters were kind of like, he's not angry, he's supposed to be friendly. Like, I don't know. It's hard getting stuff out there, you know, at the start, you know, like taking the first step into getting stuff out there is pretty hard. And then it's totally fine to keep some stuff just like not published or anything. Like, that's totally fine. And so I'm like, you know what, that's a good option. But then I'm also like, you know what, I also want to like draw and animate stuff on stream, basically. So I'm like, you know what, why not? Is he's friendly. And well, let's see. I don't know why I'm like suddenly drawing like a plaid button down shirt on him, which again, it's like, so we got the origins of a lot of these characters started is you know, D&D characters and D&D campaign, which was like homebrew. I was a DM, you know, that sort of thing. I think even, no, I know it definitely started when I was a DM, because I would like homebrew so much, so I had like tons of world building stuff, and like it was like very detailed, so I've got tons of material. It just depends on what you consider canon, or what I consider canon or not. So I'm just like, what if all of it's canon? It's just like kind of maybe not like multiple worlds also exist, or like, you know, like, because I could like pull that, or I could do like a time shenanigans thing. And I'm like, what if I just do like a slice of life thing that's like all of these are fine kind of thing. But also I had the idea of doing like a Citizen Kane type thing where I don't know what I'm doing there. There we go. That's well, that would look better if his arms were behind his back. Where you have one character, or a couple characters, in my case, where they're seen from the perspective of other people. Like, the story is told from the other people's perspective. Because, like, Citizen Kane, it starts with Kane dying, and then the news reporters are like, hey, what was this guy really like? So they go out and find people that knew him. And they all have somewhat consistent, but somewhat not conflicting, but like you did get different perspectives of the same guy. depending on who the person is. So you have sort of like a skewed, mixed up sort of picture of Kane. And so there's this, like, this unreliable narrator kind of thing going on. Anyway, this guy started, in the D&D campaign as a copper dragon, so I would just keep associating him with, like, this, like, orangey coppery sort of thing, but also he's very friendly. So that works. Also speaking as Citizen Kane. Okay, maybe maybe I just be brave about it. Okay, so let me get this back up. Okay, this guy in blue, main character, main guy, Mr. Golden Green, and all of that. This guy was actually named after a character in Citizen Kane. That's partly why I'm thinking about it. This is Leland. Named after, maybe not named after as in, like, personality traits sort of namesake, like I'm aiming for it, but I'm just like, that's a good name. Named after Jedediah Leland, the character in Citizen Kane, who's Kane's best friend. And Jedediah Leland is played by Joseph Cotton, so great acting there. So I'm just like, hey, Leland, that's a good name. I'm gonna, like, I could, that's where I heard it first, that I'm just like, that could, that's a good name. And he's been my main OC for, like, 10 years. It's been that long. It's been wildly that long. Maybe closer to 9 years. I'm gonna maybe say closer to 9 years. I think. 8. I might be, like, I'm slowly backing up. No, it's gotta be 10 years. Okay, which is also funny that I'm trying to sort out the time frame here, because he's a time travel guy. So in D&D terms, he was originally a divination wizard, and kind of like this, like, frazzled NPC that, like, the people, the player characters would go to if you're like, hey, we need, help on this quest or whatever. Maybe not help. Maybe it was like, hey, quest giver, give us a quest and we get to tease you. That sort of a dynamic with an NPC. I think, which, to be fair, I would do the same. But he was just like this, like, panicky divination wizard thing, and then, plot happened, a lot of plot happened, a lot of things happened. There was a lot of time travel involved, there were dragons involved, there were... Anyway, the short version is that he became a time dragon. So... That's the short version. That is also the D&D version. You move away from D&D, because I stopped playing the game at a certain point. Because I'm like, okay, I still have the story that I want to tell. So why don't I just make a novel, basically? So that's what I did. And so we got main character guy, who also sometimes... Let me actually, like, let's see if this will actually work on this. He's got, like, little round glasses sometimes. Yeah! Okay, let me make that look better. You little round nose glasses! Yeah! He's got little round nose glasses sometimes. But also sometimes he's not an elf. Sometimes, just all this stuff. And, like, originally, like, he's, half drow, half high elf, half drow. So, like, that was the D&D context, and everyone was like, wow, whoa, that's a combination. I'm like, I know. But also that the homebrew world was distinct enough from, like, traditional, like, D&D lore and world building and stuff that, like, it still made, it didn't have, it still kind of made sense. So, we've got that. And then... after the D&D context is just the novel building context, where he's just, like, a guy, or maybe, like, a magical guy or something. And then sometimes it would be time travel related, sometimes it would be other things related, like sometimes there's like a lightning motif, which, let me just, with with not that big of a brush, sometimes there's like a lightning kind of a thing. sometimes if I can, like, very quickly... That's lightning-esque. That's pretty lightning-y. I don't want to overwork it. Lightning. Yeah, so he's got this lightning thing going on sometimes. He's got, what else? Sometimes time travel. Sometimes just, like, other stuff. There's different, like, personality traits that kind of, like, fade in and out. Like, sometimes he's this, like, kingly character who's sort of, I don't know, got problems. I think I mostly kept the panicky. But, like, also bold. Like, sometimes he'll just, like, rush into battle, and I'm like, look at him go. I don't know. I say that. I'm the writer. I'm also the one writing it. So there's some traits that are kept in this character through, like, over the course of time. Sometimes, fades in and out, but, it's usually just this character. This archetype that I'm also making with Leland is the same exact archetype I have with Chicken. That is the same. He's just like, Chicken being king of a ruined world, etc. All of that. He's dealing with stuff. Chicken particularly is dealing with guilt. Leland not so much, but Chicken's also maybe not the nicest of guys. Sometimes he's a little bit intense. I'm trying to play Chicken specifically true neutral. So Leland I would probably consider more like sometimes like sliding back and forth on the neutral scale, like sometimes lawful neutral, sometimes chaotic neutral. Sometimes you just flat out like neutral good. Sometimes so it depends. It really depends. Okay. Talking about this guy who went through again many iterations is Sturl, as in like sterling silver, but it's just Sturl. Who is normally like sometimes the brother, sometimes the friend, sometimes it gets complicated. But he's usually associated with like blue, like this like blue magic, and then like the navy blue, although Leland definitely has like a navy blue cloak specifically. So there's that. Sturl is more associated with like ice magic. But also this guy is associated with ice magic, so there's like either there's versions where they are the same guy, or or they just both have ice magic or something, or like you go into like different types of magic that are more analogous to like my my tools in Minecraft. So we got like my tools in Minecraft being coincidence, happenstance, decay, entropy, paradox, parallax, and my wings are potential. I use some of those words in my writing as well. So, like, coincidence magic is a thing. Decay can be a thing, like, as in either a magic type or a title. That sort of thing. So, sometimes either one of them are associated, like, as in either one of them, as in this guy or Sturl, are associated with coincidence magic, which is mostly a storytelling mechanic. Because I'm just like, it's very convenient that this thing happened to happen, and so many convenient things happen that the characters just acknowledged it. I'm like, you know what, why did I just turn that into a plot device, and it's just coincidence magic, and that just works, I guess. Sturl also is associated with, like, obsidian, as opposed to gold with Leland, so, this guy has obsidian. Sometimes the brothers, sometimes they're at odds, sometimes they cooperate, sometimes whatever else. More of a brotherly dynamic than anything. Sturl is also sometimes royalty, but like good at it. Like Leland also sometimes being like royalty just from the archetype of like Chicken. I don't want to call it Chicken's archetype because like Chicken came secondly. But just the idea of like, hey, you're royalty. Leland's not good at it. He is not good at it. That's the stressy spaghetti panicky part. And so like he's like except in combat. He's really good at combat. So like when stuff goes down, he's really reliable. And Sterl, less so, but he's good at, Sterl's good at the diplomacy stuff and acting all fancy and, like, the royalty stuff as far as, like, the fanciness, I guess, in diplomacy. So there's that. There's also, this guy, which I realized that drew entirely different eyes for that one, but that's fine. This is, CJ, which that is a holdover name. I'm not entirely sold on keeping that name, but I haven't thought of anything better. But I got that now. Sometimes I get names from just like it's a placeholder in my writing, and then I'm like, actually, that sound like had a particular sound to it, and I already associate it with that character. So CJ was actually like an acronym CD Copper Dragon. So I'm just like, let's just turn it into a name, CJ. And then since then I tried to turn CJ into it means something, and which with varying success, and it all depends on if he's still a dragon or not. Which depends, which is the D&D setup of like, you've got a dragon who can also turn into a human. And so there's like this like level of shape-shifting thing, going on, but also dragons can also turn into other things. Like you got a random cat on the side of the road, it's a dragon. So he's a copper dragon, in, the D&D context. And then in the more recent context, he's just like the friend. He's the good friend. I think he was always the good friend. He's like the Samwise, Samwise Gamgee, the Lord of the Rings. He's the good, reliable friend that helps the panicky one. Not to say Frodo's panicky, but like he's got some interesting character traits for a protagonist. So you got interesting character traits for a protagonist guy over here, and then you got the good, reliable friend who's just like really helpful. So there's that. But also, there's been like a couple of drafts where he's actually a traitor, and I'm like, that's double traitor but not. You think he's a traitor but he's not? Because I really like keeping him as like the friend that like he's the good friend. He's the Samwise. So there's that. And more recently, there was also D&D context. Some homebrew stuff that I did. I made essentially like a cinema bard where it was just movie themed, and hello. Happy Pie Day. Well, I dropped I have a pen in my hand. It's the drawing tablet pen, and I'm like waving it around, explaining things, even though you can't see it. But yes, Happy Pie Day. Welcome to chat. So Cinema Bard. So I basically gave him the holdover Cinema Bard. Not words. Cinema Bard. That's it. That just the very charismatic type that has basically it was a camera. Kind of a camera. It's a cinematograph, which is it was a real thing. The cinematograph is a real thing, which is a combination camera and projector. It's a very old technology thing. So I'm like, why don't I take that and make it shoot lightning and like fire and stuff? So I had the entire like all the stats and stuff for this class, this custom class and all that, and all the damage, and it was really well balanced, as I recall. Like I was really happy with it, and I'm like, wow, I can actually balance things pretty well. So, there was that, and so I'm like, okay, if this isn't a D&D thing anymore, and it's just a story, why don't I just keep the cinema thing motif with him? So, there's that. So he's a cinema bard, like, most of the time. Like the charismatic type, sometimes just, like, a documentary kind of person, like, records stuff, sometimes even like out in combat, just like recording stuff with his camera, magic camera, because I don't know, film is kind of magic in the first place, but this in particular would have, because I have a scene in mind where like it was, I want to say Leland and, well, if I can move the thing correctly, I want to say it was Leland and then this guy, which I'll get to him in a moment, that they were looking at, like film, like actual film, like a projector was set up with a film projector with looking at film and just like scrolling through some of the footage that CJ had made, and they're like, well, who made this? And I'm like, oh, it's this guy, you should talk to him. It's a good scene. But also, Leland meeting CJ, his good friend, is kind of up in the air. Like, I don't know the exact circumstances of when they meet, because that also kind of depends on, like, what draft it is. So, that depends. And that could have been one of the options. But also, like, it's very possible that, like, the magic camera could have also done other magic things. And, back when I made it, it was like, there was a question of like, well, what, not classification, what school of magic does that actually belong into? And I'm like, well, I kind of designed it to be evocation because of shooting lightning and fire, but the argument could be made for many, many different schools of magic, so I guess it's whatever. But it's also homebrew, so it's whatever. And also it just shoots lightning, so that's fun. Then, we got this guy, who is, Ice King, who is kind of matches the Icy personality. He's just sort of, like, off on his own in probably one of the poles of the world, which is also, it's not Earth. It's also, the poles of that world are also highly associated with coincidence magic because of auroras and whatever. So there's that. So coincidence magic in him makes sense. When he's the Ice King, those, that cloak, that isn't a cloak, is actually like magic arms appendages stuff that you can use to manipulate stuff, and they're both icy despite it being like like warm tone, cool tone. They're both icy. It's just ice, and so he's just like off in the middle of like completely inhospitable environments, like stuff would freeze that you just didn't realize that could freeze. It's like so cold, but he's there. And he's also like the grumpy friend that sometimes fixes stuff for these three. She's just like, he will sometimes show up and be like, you know what, I'm gonna fix stuff for you. But also, he's probably one of the, like, of the main four, he's probably the highest chance of actually being the secret villain. But also, like, I kind of like it that he's just grumpy. That it's just, that's just him. That he doesn't actually have to be the secret villain. Or maybe he's the double secret traitor. That he's like, you think he's a traitor, he's not, but it's also. But also, he's the one that most commonly has, like, memory powers. So, potential villain, especially if I'm doing, like, playing with memory, playing with time a lot in the story. Like, if there's seemingly several restarts, or, like, multiple different scenes that, like, wait a minute, didn't this already happen? Or, like, this didn't happen before, with the same exact characters in the exact same world, then playing with memory or time does make sense. So I'm trying to figure that out. But anyway, that's Ice King. Which, again, I have... It depends on what version, because sometimes he and Stroll are the same guy. Sometimes Ice King doesn't exist, and Stroll's the one with just ice powers, or just like whatever happens. So, I don't know. I've got those. These are the four main characters, basically, and also just like a wholesome little bean over here. And then, so out of all of this, out of all the context that I've just given, then I have many, many, many options in order to, like, make scenes from an animatic, for making an animatic and building it, and that would be, like, more than just, like, sketches, because these would be just sketches, and just, like, this is what I'm working with, but then, like, what if I wanted, like, let me just, like, make this entire, let me get a bigger brush, just randomly throw some stuff. Well, yeah, I'm gonna randomly throw this over here and then sketch out, like, a potential frame that, like, could be a frame, like, because that's just like, like, just guy walking down the street. Just like in the distance, and then you don't realize it. And I could actually like define some of these, like, that could be like buildings or something. you know, like that's, well, if I could make lines that actually match a little bit better, that's slightly better. I'm gonna mirror that, because that's one of those lines that I'm like, yeah, that's close, that's not what I meant, but that's close. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, so if I can remember the mirror button again. Yeah, so like that is a potential, at least a draft. That's a very interesting draft. I'd probably like fix some of the highlight shading and stuff, because it would make more sense for like that to be shaded more, and then if this is shaded over here and then there's light coming from this corridor, then that is really drawing attention to that corridor as opposed to the end of the road, like where the lighting lines are supposed to be. Hi Dice, how are you doing? So if I do that, that is slightly better. Gonna lighten that up, gonna darken these buildings again. That's something. That's interesting. I don't like the dead space on like this side of it, but like that could be like definitely like a dramatic sort of shot in any story. But in this particular case, I'm focusing on these guys on this story, which is actually like, I keep saying it's like fantasy and D&D based. It's actually there's some modern stuff. I really like leaning into like fantasy modern. It's been a good day. How are you? I'm drawing. I'm doing this. I'm very invested in what I'm doing here. So I guess I'm doing good. So like if you got this like fantasy modern stuff, you've got like cities and buildings. You've got like medieval cities and stuff, and like big castle towns and stuff. But this would be like modern, but also magic, but also like not necessarily tons of magic. Maybe it's like more rare at that point in time, which would be kind of match what I have in mind for the world, which is there's different eras of the world, and the farther back in time you go, the more magical it is. The farther in the future you go, the less magical it is, etc. So, if it's more modern, it's less magical, which makes sense, but there still is magic, and so there would still be interesting stuff going on. So we got that. And then I've just got this scene in mind. This also needs to be with dark background. Maybe I'll do something that's like a little bit more blue tone, because that matches way better. Okay, dark background. I'll actually lighten that up a little bit. And I actually need to do some rock work for this, which I'm happy doing rocks. That was the other stream that I was, the other art stream. Oh, okay. Also, we've got the little optical illusion here that this color looks darker because it's on a lighter background, and this looks lighter because it's on a darker background, but it is the same color. The exact same color. Okay. I'm also just being really rough with the rock work right now. But there is a rock that the guy will be standing on. I kind of want it to come from a little bit more of a low angle, but we're gonna deal with that, right? We're gonna deal with this for right now. Is that no? It's if I could, it's not left-handed. That's just a bad rock angle. Okay, I fixed the rock. Yeah, I'm drawing a lot of things just to kind of like get my bearings for like actually potentially turning some of this into like an animatic sort of thing. Okay, this one I might need like a reference or something for, but I can see it. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the upper torso. I'm just gonna get rid of this. body. This looks like a mess, but I am picturing the thing. Okay. You know what? You know what? That helped. That helped. That helped. Okay, no, I need to clean this up. Nope, nope, nope. Messing it up again, messing it up again. No, 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 that's not it either. So I'm trying to get, I know where shoulders are, I know where... There, yeah, good enough, good enough, good enough. That is the best that I'm gonna get, at this moment in time. And I dug into the rocks anyway. You know what? I'll take it. I will take it. I will totally take that. I will totally take that. And now for the actual, like, surprising part of this is that, Mr. Crocodile Skull, guy. Mr. Crocodile Skull guy. With, like, antenna thing. Anyway. And then that this is actually, like, more so, like, armor than clothes. You know, that's pretty good. That is pretty close to how I also no lower jaw. That is pretty close to how I actually imagine that. Although I do want to mess with the lighting here a little bit because that could be brighter. And then that would also have reflections off the rock. You know, all the rocks and stuff. No, not that one. Yeah, that one's fine. But then this would be a little bit kind of like there would be like in between values and stuff. You know what? That's not too bad. That is not too bad at all. Except I also want... No, I don't like that one, but I like the rest of it. I also want to take... I'm gonna alpha lock this and then put a little bit of shading right here. And what alpha lock does is like it takes, it only affects what you have drawn on top of on that layer. So like I can actually like change the color of like whatever the lines are instead of drawing new lines. And then that one needs to be lighter, just generally lighter. That's not super consistent. Okay, this one goes... This one kind of fades into the background. The mid-tone ones can be the mid-tone ones. And that one just being like just like a lighter edge. Also, I can take it off of alpha lock, change the layer there, and then make that more of a light tone edge. However, close enough. You know what? I'm liking that. I am liking that. Yeah, so sometimes me writing or drawing this stuff would just be like whatever is at the top of my mind. You do like not top of my mind, but like just like whatever comes to mind. And so it's like this picture of like this crocodile skull guy. I know what he does, but just like looking really ominous on the top of a rock, looking down over presumably some sort of light source, maybe a city. So he looks really kind of like ominous, almost like a vigilante, maybe. So I think me working on anime, and also suddenly that looks really cool, but also like doesn't quite seem right. But like lighting, the lighting is one of my favorite things in drawing. So we take these guys. I could also draw the crocodile guy on this page. He's not actually a crocodile. It's more of like a dragon. It's like that's just the shape of like a one type of dragon's head in that world. So, like, that's technically, like, dragon skull guy, but it kind of looks like a crocodile. So, like, I've got these, I suddenly don't, like, I spent so much time on this that, like, this over here looks like not as great. So I'm gonna throw some, like, blues in there. I'm gonna throw some blues in there. And see, blues and oranges might be, like, slightly overdone, but it is good. I guess it was overdone, like, a while ago, and maybe. I mean, sometimes it's just, like, you need the contrast. That's better. That's already better. Like, just, like, the little bit of, like, light contrast there. Actually, that looks like a wet surface. That looks like a wet surface. So what if I did something like a bigger... No. Not like a chalk sort of thing, sort of like a half opaque sort of thing, but, like, not that distinct. So, like, a bigger pencil, maybe. Yes and no. Okay, let me work on that. Let me work on that. Make that smaller. And then, how about I make that... that is looking better. That's kind of, kind of wet surfacey. However, I'm gonna take this and kind of... See, a lot of me doing art is just, like, just seeing what works and then trying something else, and then it may not work, but I'm gonna just keep trying. It needs to be squashed. It needs to be squashed. Wait, no, can I get it? Not that. Can I get, like, the diagonal one? Can I get the diagonal transform? Perspective. No. Hold on. Look, no, liquify's not what I'm looking for. What am I found the thing the other day. There's a particular, like a side, like, you don't rotate it, that's what I'm looking for. I just moved the focal, I don't need to move the focal point. See, that's what I'm looking for. And I might need to swap the, this line. This line might need to be fixed, but that might have been needed to be fixed anyway. See, that, yep. Yep, I like that. I like that. Okay, that already looks a whole lot more ominous and matches the style that I'm going for with this over here. I'm gonna group these. That's group, quick group, and then that's just that drawing. And then this over here. Group, quick group, and then that's that drawing. And I can collapse it, and it's all very nice. So I got this. This is already, like, turning into, like, I can kind of see the scene in the story, and it's very, like, noir and very, like, dark atmosphere and potentially rainy and, like, a lot of, like, heavy light and shadow, like Loki lighting. As in, like, Loki and Heike are actually film terms. So Loki lighting would be, like, there's a lot of contrast between the darks and the brights, which is very common in film noir. So... that's fine. And so I've got, you know, like, the moody, rainy, edgy, which I didn't... So this is actually fun, because, like, me writing this story, like, specifically, like, writing, like, I came up with some, like, I drew some, like, visual stuff, for, like, I want to say assets, I want to say graphic design stuff. It wasn't either of those. It was just, like, drawings of, like, the world, basically, when it was a D&D world. And it was never really like noir-y, which is partly makes sense because I was drawing the world as part of like another in-universe thing, which is like postcards. So I was drawing the world in postcard form. So you don't really have like a film noir postcard thing. Like, it's not common, I don't think. But it would be common if it was a movie. And so if they're turning this into a movie, then making it very stylistic with the lighting to help tell the story makes a lot of sense. Dragon skull guy. I love it. And I just love it how like that lighting works. Like I could even push it a little bit farther with making it like a little bit more like orangey. But I'm not gonna touch it right now because I'm just like that's good. I don't want to work it too much. I might come back to it later. But this would be like more modern, like person walking alone in the ominous, edgy. It's nighttime, and you got Mr. Dragon Skull Vigilante. You know, like up on the rocks nearby. Question mark. It would be like city, but there's also rocks nearby. So like it would be like maybe not mountainous, but at least like hills. Maybe it would have to be mountainous if there's rock outcroppings like that. But then it would probably be, you know, if it's telling the story from the perspective of someone else, and this could be just some random person who happens to like encounter this person, or this is the vigilante that is, you know, like hunting down this person, but then this person is like actually one of the protagonists or something, and so you would be seeing it from the vigilante's perspective. It all depends. But the fact that I'm like capturing the mood and the tone it makes me happy. Never thought I'd make it this far. As far as talking about my story and coming up with stuff. So we've got like that as a noir, which I don't want the entire thing to be noir because that has its own sort of stylistic things in it. So you've got like classic noir. You've also got like say Blade Runner is very it's in the one noir style, even though it's like cyberpunky. Not the game, but it's cyberpunk the style. But it's also got elements of noir. So I don't want the whole story to be noir, because like some of it is just slice of life, where it's more wholesome, or it's more dramatic, or it's whatever. But you got like different things going. Also this guy, main guy, Leland. There's sometimes I like to do like wordplay with words, as you do. But it's like wordplay with the titles and what it means as far as the characters. So I'm thinking this guy, if he's got some time motifs going on, and then there's the phrase "time heals all wounds," and then I'm like, wait a minute, what if he's got like healing magic or some in some way? So in the versions of the story where he's got healing magic, it's like green lightning, because he's got regular lightning that just looks like lightning. But then like if it's healing lightning, then it's like green, but it's not necessarily like a defibrillator. It can be, I guess. But it would just be like spark. It's like, as opposed to like sparkly healing magic, it would just be like slightly sparkly, not sparkly, but sparking. It's just like a little shock. It's like just not injury, not like you're being injured by lightning, but it would just be like a little, like you get a shock while trying to hit the light switch sort of thing. But it's also healing magic, so it's like it doesn't necessarily feel great like the magic healing magic that's like all bubbles and whatever. But it would be used to be healing magic. It would be just be like like a light switch, I guess. I don't know. All of this is also like up to being not up to being, you know, tossed out, replaced with something else, like up to like me deciding I want something different. Like this is all draft. This is all a draft, basically. It's an ongoing story. So whatever ongoing story that I have to tell, I mean, like eventually I'll land on like something, because there are some things that I continually land on that I'm like, this is good, I like this is good. Such as wait. That's really ominous. Okay. That you know, that's really scary. We got nice guy that suddenly turns scary. It's also ominous. Okay, we know nice guy's gonna stay the nice guy. So as far as making an animatic or something, not just an animatic or like animation or whatever, although it would probably start as an animatic, or I don't even want to say like animatic, because like what if it is actually just a full animation? It's just like it's whatever frame rate it needs to be. So sometimes there would be like pauses like this, and this would be like this camera angle would be held for longer, and maybe there would be like a pan up, so it would be like this. No, that's a tilt. That's called a tilt. A pan is side to side. That's a pan as far as camera terms, and then a tilt is like up. But also, if you just do like like you want to move the entire camera, because if you tilt, if the camera stays in the same place and you tilt the camera up physically, or like the same thing with like a pan left or pan right, the camera stays in one place. If you want the camera to also move, like this, me scrolling up and down would be an example of the camera is also moving. That would be more so like a crane or a dolly shot. So like, like it's going side to side, probably along a track, that's a dolly shot. Or if you need to go up, you pretty much need like a crane, and that's exactly what it sounds like, is that you get a crane, which is expensive. Equipment rental is expensive, and so I opt for animating things when I am able. So like there's a lot of camera motions that I can do even with just this. So like if I wanted to like start from the bottom, it moves up and it reveals dragon head guy, then like that would be one shot, and then maybe you cut to the person walking down, maybe there's like footsteps, maybe it's wet footsteps. So you hear like it's like raining, maybe not actively raining, but it was raining. So you get the nice reflections. Also, like in Blade Runner, you get nice reflections in the water on the ground. You got person walking by, and then maybe they like are now I'm just thinking like, what if it was okay? So also take same sort of lighting. Maybe that is really blue. That is really, really blue. That's slightly better. Take some of this as far as... that needs to be not... That's... that really needs to be, like, very light. Like a light sort of orange. Yeah. So, like, a light orange thing happening. That's kind of bleeding into the rest of it, and I don't need that purple. And so then you got this background, and then you've got whatever color I used for the blue. The blue. I like this, like this, the dragon skull guy is blue. I like that. So dragon skull guy is blue. That's just an empty layer. That's perfect. Dragon skull guy is blue. And so, or like a lavender magenta thing. So I'm gonna try to get the two of them talking, as opposed to, like, it's not, I'm not gonna stab someone right now. I won't promise that it won't happen, depending on the circumstances. I just don't know these characters, because, like, I don't know which draft this story is. So this story could go, like, either way, depending on what draft it is. But for right now, I'm just gonna have them talking, so that I can get an actual, like, nice, kind of like an over-the-shoulder thing, but also dragon. That could be a little bit more like that. I don't want his eyes to be so round. I want it to be more oval. That's better. Also, I need to make the skull look a little bit skull-like. That's the great description. But, like, less round, because I usually start with a circle for heads, just in general, because it's just quick and easy. But this one can actually be a little bit more oblong. Actually, I can, since it is actually meant to be more of a skull, I can make that more of like an eye socket sort of thing. So, this isn't necessarily a fight, but this would be like a great opener for like, if it was a campaign, this would be like a great opener for, um, you know, like you're being spied on, and then a vigilante dragon skull guy drops down and tries to attack you and like roll for initiative and stuff, and like that could be a thing. However, it's not going to be. I mean, it still could be end up in a fight, but like, it won't be part of a campaign. As far as I'm aware, at the present. Okay, then he looks just kind of angry. I just want him to look like kind of sad. I'm gonna move this over a little bit. Kind of sad, kind of not. Just kind of looking at you, kind of just scary, like he doesn't care. I guess I kind of want the snout part to be thinner, so this is going to be erased. And different jawline. Crocodile. That already made it look more skull-like already, but I need... It's close. It's close. That's better. That's looking better. And then the random antenna, I guess. That is part of the... That's more of like a feature of those types of dragons than anything else. Okay, so we got this guy who... Actually, I'm going to swap the antenna for being like a little bit more like down. Not perked up as much. There we go. That's a little bit better. That matches the first one a little bit more. Yeah, that matches more. Okay, that one. This should actually be... that works. That works. That works. I'm gonna make this a little bit thinner. Like, a little bit more distinct as far as, like, a facial structure thing. Distinct facial structure, I guess, is what I'm trying to go for. That's not bad. However, I want... Not flat like that, but like... That! There we go. Also, still no lower jaw. Also, kind of like, kind of about this way-ish. Like, shoulder would be like right here. Other shoulder. Kind of, I guess hunched over, but also like... And I'll make it look like armor probably later. But yeah, just intimidating, but not necessarily like actively trying to attack anyone. Because he's just scary by himself. He's already scary. Maybe like that? Yeah. Yeah, that's... Okay, so then we got that guy done. And then this one I'm going to put on another layer because it might actually overlap a little bit. Oh, that looks cool. Okay, other random guy, which now I kind of get to decide what this other random guy, like who this other random guy is, because this other random person might actually be important. Or not. Could just be a guy that is walking down the street and happens to meet Mr. Crocodile Head. That's not his name. It just so happens to meet this guy. So, instead of just drawing a circle, I'm going to draw more like a... Like, gasp, who are you? Yeah, I guess. And now I'm thinking of the end of Casablanca, and that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Scary crocodile guy just shows up out of nowhere, just like drops down from a tall building, I guess. A little bit more curved away. Drawing like a 3/4 facing away from the camera is kind of tricky. Work. Working on that. Gasp, who are you? Let's see, thumb goes over there. There we go. It needs a taller collar. There we go. Although, just because I drew a collar, I am very tempted to make this sterile, but, like, I'm not sure if he would be surprised. So what if this is... Not messing around with the hair, and I'm like, that doesn't work for that character. What if I change the hair a little bit, and this is CJ, the friend. This is the good friend. So he's like surprised, but more so that like the crocodile guy, he's not a crocodile, the dragon skull guy just so happened to like jump down from the top of a building in front of him, and he's startled rather than he doesn't know who he is, because I think CJ would probably know who this is. Gonna try to smooth this out a little bit, not quite like that. Yeah, I like that. I like the shape of that. I like the shape of that. That is really good, because that one's leaning forward, and then, like, even if you mirror it, it's a little bit more exaggerated, but, like, you, like, shock, gasp, there's a crocodile, it's not a crocodile, it's a dragon kind of creature right in front of me. And it actually didn't overlap, which is fun. I'm gonna try to make that arm connect slightly better right there. It's also, what I'm drawing is probably just a draft. It's just to get the idea out of my head and onto paper. Because that's good! I like that! I especially like the lighting that has. And even like, okay, so I might actually swap some of the lighting in here to emphasize that he's more in shadow over, like, on the edge here. If I could bring up the opacity. There we go. So he's, like, partially more in shadow. That makes it way more dramatic. Let's see. Maybe a little bit more white there. So it's just bright light in the middle there. But then you still got some, like, dark edges. And then CJ is still sort of, like, well lit up. Even though he's, you know, there's a little bit of shadow on the edge, but, like, he's mostly, like, largely lit up. But I keep wanting to call him a crocodile. He's not a crocodile. He's a dragon skull head guy without a lower jaw. I keep mentioning that because I joked about it with friends one time. That's close. I'm gonna maybe dial some of that back. Yeah, that's pretty good. That is still scary. Maybe I dialed it back and now I'm dialing it forward again. So I'm just I'm playing around with it. Although, what if he was backlit? Which doesn't make sense necessarily for the shadows on him, but, like, at the very least, it would be, like, really distinct. And kind of more startling, I think. Maybe. And then I dial it back again. Maybe, like, a smidge backlit. Hi, Chespy! Ooga booga, hi! How are you doing? I am drawing. Yeah, I'm like in a smidge backlit. Okay, and then the actual distinct edge with his armor is gonna be really dark over here, and then like smidge more backlit. I like that. Doing well is tired. Okay. Well, I hope you become untired, or like you recover from being tired. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. Gotta do some editing. Good luck editing. There's still some spots that are like it's just on the edge here. But I want that edge to be really sharp. And then I might need to actually like blur some of that. Just to get it a little bit more mixed in with everything else that's happening. Watch it makes you want to draw now. You can draw if you want. Yeah, I'm just drawing like so I've got my story, my OC story that I've been working on for like 10 years, on and off for different phases of stuff, including it was a D&D campaign. And then I'm like, why don't I just animaticify it? And then I'm like, why don't I just stream it? And so then I'm here. And then part of this, a lot of these scenes I haven't actually drawn. So this is the first time I'm drawing, like, and some of these scenes I'm making up as I go along. So this scene in particular I'm making up as I go along because actually, let me group these. Group, quick group. Yeah. So like this scene started from like me just having a picture of like, it could be kind of noir like this. And there's a person walking and there's like, it could be like, like the ground is a bit wet and reflecting a lot. And, it's more modern and, there's modern buildings and, like hallways and light coming in from different sources, but it's kind of dark and gritty and like a little bit like noir. And then I'm like, actually, I did have an idea for like this image in my head, that this character is just kind of like leaning forward on like rock outcropping, whatever's happening there with him. And then I'm like, well, as far as lighting goes, why don't I make it like kind of light on the bottom over here? Hi, BMA, how are you doing? I am drawing. So like, make the lighting kind of show up near the bottom. And then I'm like, wait, these kind of have like, I went back to this one and then made it a little bit more matchy with the colors in the other painting. And I'm like, wow, it looks like it's part of the same scene now, which is amazing how that happens. If you have consistent lighting, it looks like it's in the same scene. So I got this like vigilante type character. I know exactly what, maybe not exactly, but I have a pretty good ballpark estimate of like who this guy is and what he's doing. What's the deal with the dragon skull? I kind of know that. And so then he like jumps down and then he kind of looks kind of, okay, I might fix that because he kind of looks kind of bored. So maybe I didn't want bored, but I did want kind of like apathetic. And so he jumps down and startles this guy who is CJ, who is in a different this guy, the friendo, the guy, the reliable friendo, who's basically like Samwise as far as plot structure and stuff. He's a reliable friendo and also has a movie camera. He's a movie guy. So as far as this goes, let me just fix this eye. Oh, okay, that looks a little bit more creepy, a little bit more zombie-like, a little bit more scary. And so he just drops down in front of this guy. Also, that doesn't quite work like that anymore. That is better. That's better. That's way better. I need to work on an art style. I have that cute little style, but I want to actually have a style in terms of like full body without stick legs and stuff. I'm used to the practice, but also like your art style is the collection of decisions that you make. So if you want to have stick legs, then go for it. And like I had for the longest time, like up until like before college, I want to say I had like a stick arms and circle body, not circle body, but like this like a rectangular body, and then like like head, and then stick arms with circle hands for ages. And I was fine with it, and it was totally fine. I'm just like, yes, this is this character with the stick arms and circle hands. And then, like, sometime in college, I'm just like, what if I make those a little bit more defined? That's, like, off the page. What if I make that slightly more defined, and then you have an arm? Wow, crazy how that works. But, like, it's also still simple shapes and stuff. It's just a couple extra steps. Which is... that's fine. Yeah, there we go. So, just whatever art style you want, just go for it, because it's the collection of your decisions. Because like my art style, I would say I really like where I have all these the thick lines and focus on lighting, which is exactly what I'm doing this entire time. And so I just love, hi Yankee, how are you doing? Rectangle body and stick limbs phase right now. Yeah. Well, I still have a rectangle body, but it's like sometimes it's like sometimes they have, fancy clothes. Like, you're good, that's good to hear. This guy has, like a nice button-down shirt. Like sometimes it's still a rectangle, but it's just a fancy rectangle. And then these guys also have rectangle bodies, but also cloaks. And this one is not a cloak, but I went over that earlier. But yeah, CJ's a, sweet guy. Which I then proceed to scare him. Okay. Also, I've got a drawing tablet, but I've also got a piece of paper. So if you hear paper, I've got a piece of paper on my drawing tablet just for texture. Because, like, a drawing tablet by itself is really slick, and it feels kind of unnatural when you're used to drawing on paper all your life. So that's fine. So, like... what if I put these in, like, a little bit chronological order of how they might go as far as, like, a actual animatic? I'm trying to make an animated amethyst farm, which, of course, is part of my next episode. Almost done with the episode, but the farm is being a pain. I didn't know you could automate amethyst farms. Like, the closest I've seen to, like, having an official farm is just, like, putting scaffolding up, or, like, even submerging it, because you can, like, submerge it, and then, silk touch all the little buds, and then, or if you wanted to fortune all the little buds, and then all the stuff just floats, but also not every item floats, so you'd still have to swim around, so it would still be a pain, but I guess it's a little bit more easy to move around if it's submerged. Anyway, good luck with the amethyst farm. Good luck with the episode. So, down the corridor, which is kind of noir, this might be the start of a scene where, like, someone's walking down a noir hallway road. It's like a road, I guess. Talking about OCs. Completed all 14 characters for one of my universes, in which is my lore world of Nightmares. Great, that sounds cool. Congrats. I've just got the one world I'm dealing with now with, like, 4 characters that are all, like... hold on, let me... with the 4 characters that I'm focusing on, and it's, like... I'm gonna group these two, actually. To group, that makes my life easier. Cool. But yeah, I've got 4 characters in one world that I'm working on, and it's already like a lot. So that sounds really cool. Person, now presumably CJ, walking down the street. Also, I'm talking about this like it's a screenplay now. So we got fade in, exterior, city street, night, rainy. Someone's walking down the street. The universe right now has 5, which 4 are from the elementals. Interesting. Lots of people don't know how you destroy the global amethyst with pistons. I didn't really... well, that does make sense if you break it with pistons. But then you'd have to get it all in a bunch of weird angles, so good luck. Yeah, exterior, city street nights, just after rain. I'm swapping it up. It's a screenplay format. Basically, which I know what I'm talking about as far as that goes. Just imagine a screenplay. Person's walking down at night. You hear, wet footsteps as they're walking down. There's maybe like distant sirens. Maybe there's water dripping. Maybe there's like a cat that knocked over a trash can or something. Maybe there's like a raccoon or something. Maybe that's a raccoon instead. I don't know. But just like atmospheric noises. And then, cut to, there is a figure perched on a rock wall, nearby, overlooking the city, with an ominous demeanor. I'm not sure how you'd say that, but just like, he just perched on top of rocks overlooking the city. He's got it's not a crocodile skull, it's the dragon skull, whatever. But this would be a good moment for, like, the sound to kind of maybe dip down. Like, you can't really hear the city sounds. Maybe it's quieter. Maybe there's, like, an owl in the distance or something. But there's, like, a lot of just, like, there's a quiet moment, which helps ominousness. And I also mentioned, like, maybe, like a crane shot where it just, like, it's a reveal. Where you reveal the figure right there. That would be great. And then he drops down in the middle. And then it would probably have to be like an in-between shot here with sort of like a combination of like that and that, where you see like it's a more of a close-up, but you still got CJ on the street alone. So that could happen. Also, I'm not paying super close attention to like what colors go where, because it's just like it's mostly whatever feels correct. And I can just like swap between any of the range of like this like navy and like bright white yellow, which is, I need a bigger brush. Okay, so if CJ's like, say, like right here, I'm also trying not to break the 180-degree rule, because if this scene is right here, and this guy is presumably walking in like that sort of a direction, then I'm not going to focus on the 180-degree rule with that shot. But with this in particular, if we see the left side of CJ's face, I want to keep seeing the left side of CJ's face. So it's really, really dark on this side of the screen, and then CJ's on this side of the screen with a little bit more like light surroundings. And then, so it's sort of like there's someone following behind him, but he's more focused on the wrong area, because it could totally be someone jumping out in front of him, from the rooftops. As you do, because Magic World, and also because this guy is special. Not that guy. This guy is special. Well, CJ's also special. Yeah, but this guy is special. So you got this guy jumps down from the rooftops, and that is like really yellow. So hi Bob. What does E mean? Well, I know E, the letter, but like. Okay, so if we got that set up, then that might actually be too bright for CJ, so I might actually have to dim that down. That's better. However, I want to add a little bit of, maybe like a little bit of orange into this, and maybe like a less opacity. That's better. That matches. So then, that is the background. So then, that is CJ at an extreme long shot. I need CJ at a close-up to kind of compare. Okay, and then, like, let me just move this temporary. EA Sports. I don't play sports. Or video game sports. Anyway, how are you doing, Bob? I could also finesse some of the lighting on CJ, but I really like the lighting on CJ right now on that shot. Wait, no, the lighting on CJ is messed up, because that's the lighting on CJ that I wanted. There's multiple layers of semi-transparent, lighting. So that's CJ, so CJ would have been, like, looking, like, behind him, like, kind of like a glance behind him, I guess. Okay, and then turn this back on, and then get CJ's actual, like, the eyedropper tool for the actual color that I'm using for CJ. Chillin' about you? I'm chillin' in, like, a really intense, cinema person kind of chillin'. As in, I'm making a movie, so I'm happy, so, enjoy chillin'. I am also cinema chillin', I guess, in an intense way, I guess. But I'm enjoying myself. Okay, actually that would be, I'm gonna make it slightly lower. So CJ would kind of be glancing behind him, maybe like a worried expression. Also, part of like me practicing drawing is I was really focused on expressions for a long, long time because no. Yeah, I kind of need that. I was focused on expressions because if I got the expressions correct, then I could totally like make comics or whatever else I wanted to make, such as like animatics presently. And I could have, you know, the stick arms. Well, I don't have stick arms anymore for my drawing style, but like I could totally just have like a really simple drawing style otherwise if I get the expressions down. And so I think I've done that. Okay, we got CJ, we got the floofy hair. Uh, that's just sort of CJ's signature, I guess. Ears would be useful. He's maybe listening. That would also be like a good moment for like a something like dropped, like in the tree, like in a forest, it would be a twig snapped to be, you know, like stereotypical trope of twig snapping, and you're like, oh no, dangerous, but it was really like a deer or something. This would be like there was a noise, like a wrench dropped or something. There was like some sort of like metal noise, or like perhaps even footsteps, or perhaps even like whispering that like you're like really concerned, like whoa, there's someone whispering, so ominous. However, that's not quite what I want it to be. Close, I guess. Close. I need to redo those eyes. Because that's kind of in the way of everything else. But I will also finish off the face. Just so I kind of know what direction I'm going in. So maybe he's like a little bit concerned, but also like maybe not super concerned. So like just like a little bit of worry, but not too much worry. So like I'm not sure if I'm sure I could capture that, but because he is also, you know, he's not powerless himself either. Also, depending on what draft you use, what draft I use. So let's see. A little bit of concern, not a ton. Maybe like, oh, like suspicious eyes, I guess. Maybe. Okay, that's it. One thing about me using this brush in particular is that sometimes I get like really like thick lines where I do not want thick lines, and it's usually the jaw. Like I usually don't want a thick jawline for people. Would rather not. It looks better as a slightly thinner line, so I gotta be careful to actually like have it drawn the way that I want. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. Actually, that kind of reminds me of like you know, Take on Me, like the music video, and like the lead singer of Aha. Kind of reminds me of that. A little bit of worry, not too much worry. That's all. He also looks bored. Okay, I'm gonna fix the mouth. A little bit of worry, not too much worry. Maybe that's also maybe a little bit too bored. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Nope. No. There is like a finite window of how much this looks good. Drawing a mouse. Just no. You know what? I'll take it. That's fine. And then he's sort of looking over his shoulder, so he's like he kind of got. That's a little bit more of a like a direct side angle than I was anticipating, but it's needs more shoulders. And the button-down shirt, yeah. Yeah, CJ, he's got the button-down shirt. He also needs, like, a collar or something. There we go. Like, and then also, like, a little bit of arm on the side, I guess. I like to be able to just see just, like, a little bit of... Okay, maybe that's too thin. Maybe just, like, a little bit more... That's better, question mark. I still feel like his shoulder should be thicker. Like that. And maybe the button-down shirt should be a little bit more distinct. And just regular buttons? Yeah, this is regular buttons. But it's the sort of, maybe, okay. Now that I've done CJ and I'm happy with CJ, this kind of dark area should probably be, like, creeping up more. Yeah, so it's, like, a little slightly bit more concerning than anything. Maybe this is, like, way closer to him. You get this, like, really interesting sort of, like, soft edges with this tool. It's like the airbrush tool, which makes sense. It took me a while to figure out how to use it, so yeah, here we go. Okay, so get these corners. And then it looks really kind of ominous. I could even, like, make it a little bit more dark. That is just, like, really dark and scary from, like, right behind him. But then you've got someone popping up in front of him. So, which that would... In order to pull that off, it would probably need, like, a reframe. Like, the next frame would probably need to be, like, he's not on this side of the screen anymore, he's on this side, but it's still this side of his face. And then I group these two. Yeah, okay. And then that belongs down here. So then as it goes presently, we got CJ walking on a rainy street, and then someone overlooking the city. And then he looks behind him because he's kind of skeptical. I actually love how soft this is. Like, that soft gradient between, like, the yellow beige and how it kind of, like, lightens up right at the edge. And then it gets really dark. I love that. And then someone drops down behind you, not behind him, in front of him. And then I'm going to actually... There's a spot right here that I don't like being so yellow. So I'm just going to darken that up right there, and then maybe make the edges a little bit more darker so it's just a little bit more clear. Yeah, where'd my mouse go? Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. So as far as the 4 frames in an animatic movie that I'm like... kind of I'm mostly winging it. That, like, I don't know what part of the script this is gonna go in. Script. I mean, it could be... I think this might just turn out into, like, I just draw whatever. I just make the story. I make the animatic. I just make the movie. And then whatever it is, it just happens to be that. And then if I wanted to do something in the future that contradicts the first thing, then it's okay. It just, that's the way it works, I guess, in the wacky worlds that I have. Or maybe it's just one of the mechanics I mentioned, like memory manipulation or time manipulation or one of these things, and like, what it just happens. One of these things happen. So walking down the street, overlook. This is, I actually really appreciate how much I love how this matches so much of like what I was picturing, and it was really quick. That it was like I didn't really work on it too quick, like too much time. Like a lot of these are like I got 4 frames done. They all look great. It didn't take that much time at all. So I'm happy. So And I love the softness of the lighting right there. Like, that would be really good. But also, if this was practical, as in like live action, you need like practical lights and stuff, getting a soft sort of, actually, I know what I would do to get a soft sort of lighting like that. It was that I would do my best to get, like the lighting how I wanted it with the lights, but it's mostly in the camera that you would really want like a really oh, and this would be so hard at nighttime. So you would need like a really shallow depth of field. Wait, maybe not so hard at nighttime. No, that wouldn't be hard at nighttime at all. Uh, okay. So, and then another tangent. Uh, hold on. So there was a great metaphor of, not metaphor, but like example of like how to tell what depth of field affects how much your camera is stopped down. So you've got like the lens of the camera basically. So this is camera, this is lens, and then depending on how open the aperture is, it depends on how much like light you let in. So if it's tiny, you let in a tiny bit of light. If it's a big aperture, you let in a lot of light. I'm making this camera look a little bit more camera-like. Hold on. Hold on. It's gotta be like has like the handle, and it has like the little like yeah, that's more camera-like. So it's like Play-Doh. If you roll out Play-Doh into like a noodle, then you have a really shallow, like you have a wide depth of field, but you let in very little light. Like this is the aperture, if that's the aperture. But you have a very wide depth of field. So if you need to stop down the camera because it's like a bright sunny day, then you are most likely going to get a very big depth of field. And so getting a shallow depth of field on a bright sunny day, you kind of need neutral density filters. You really need neutral density filters for that. But if it's dark, that's Pac-Man. Moon? Close enough. If it's dark and you need to stop open the lens, then you have a shallower depth of field, because that's just how it works. So getting a really wide depth of field when it's dark is also fairly tricky. So getting a really shallow depth of field at night for this shot in particular would not be that much problem. Like I might even like unfocus the camera a little bit away from him, maybe just like at his nose or something, just so that I get like the really nice blurred effect right behind him. That's just like blurry. It's blurry. It's like the not as in focus. The depth of field is like in front of him, so you get more you get more blurriness behind him, basically. Examples. Anyway, that's depth of field. Which is just, the depth of field itself is just like the plane of focus and how wide is that plane of focus. So usually, generally, you want things to be in sharp focus. Sometimes you don't. Like a lot of classic Hollywood, like they would film women in particular slightly out of focus, so there's this like little bit of a haze around their face, and it doesn't focus on imperfections in the face, it just smooths everything out, which is nice. And then because you can get really really sharp depth of field, so if you're trying to be like like okay, like I'm not sure if I would want to be photographed in sharp depth of field if it was focusing on imperfections in my face. That I would not want that. Okay. I still really love how this turned out. Like, I don't know, like the orange just made everything pop, basically. Also, I'm refreshing chat. There we go. Okay, good. We're good. We're good. I have chat on my phone, so if I miss a message, I just may not have refreshed it. I really love this. Like just this image. Like, I've had like several iterations of like either this character or similar characters with this image right here. Also, I will be right back. And then there's the put everything over top of each other and it just becomes kind of a mess. That is also possible. Although that does look interesting. Like I could turn that into something like doorways. That looks like a window or mirror or doorway, or like you're going down a hallway and then there's like mirrors and maybe let's just say mirrors. There's like mirrors everywhere that just like are just like either flashbacks or just like sort of like a phone call. Like you just like you want to talk to someone, you go to a particular mirror, I guess, maybe. Or probably in a dramatic kind of flashback like this, you're walking down the hallway and it's just like life flashes before your eyes kind of thing in different hallways. Or maybe like, I don't know. Because also thematically, what I'm doing with some of this is that there's like, you know, playing with time, playing with memory, also playing with who knows what, and sort of like, you know, knowledge in a sense. So it's interesting. I'm really happy with just those 4 frames. Like, really happy. Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna maybe go back to my original. Well, maybe not that one. That's just describing depth of field. So these guys, also angry Ice King over there. These guys, how these guys work into it is that so we've got CJ, nice friend over here. He's just like average guy walking down the street in this entire scene. He's the good friend character. Either Leland or Sturl will, you know, have depending on the draft, have an alternate form, which is essentially most commonly associated with decay, the concept of decay, which is sort of like maybe you could consider like the negative side of time. If you wanted to, you could, you know, connect it to like the mushrooms are, you know, the process of decay and decomposition and stuff. You know, something similar to that, but also specifically in the story, like decay of magic, that magic of gradually going away, and there's different reasons for that depending on the draft of the story. But either Sturl or Leyland, or perhaps both, often both, have a particular different form, which is the scary like dragon skull head guy knight. I guess I say knight as in like skilled fighter with armor in that sort of sense. But if both of them happen to be like also have like royalty themes, they're not like, well, they could actually pose as knights of whoever is in charge. I mean, not pose, but they could function as knights of whoever's in charge. And if they're in charge, they could also fight. So that works, but just like dragon skull guy with armor who knows how to fight, basically. And considering how that's blue, I'm more likely to say that that's Sturl. But if that's decay, that's more likely to be Leland. So because time, so it's up in the air. It's one or the other. So it kind of depends on what the next scene is and like what this conversation goes down. Or maybe he is just trying to stab CJ. Maybe not. I don't think so. Why would that happen? Also, I do like that shot of him just being like, I think I did really pull off the worried but not too much worried kind of a thing. That's so good. I love that. I love that so much. And also, there's just something like kind of eerie about that. Like, I don't know, like just like walking in a city at night when it's kind of rainy is just sort of has like that eeriness and like it's also like the blur. So like what like maybe you're like looking through the world like you maybe through an umbrella or like there's just like rain in your eyes or something. Or like especially like on a camera, if there's water on a camera lens, then there's just sort of like this like blurry kind of wet atmosphere kind of thing. Okay. But also like he's got the whole lightning motif. Anyway. Let's see. We got CJ. Would you just CJ being scared? I don't know, because that conversation would probably go down something like he's just like, "Oh, you scared me," something, or like maybe like trying to fake it. If there's other people around, then he might not necessarily want other people to know, like, "Hey, I know the scary dragon head guy." You're like, "Oh no, so scary," and then they like, you know, something else happens, or like maybe like a like he now me not watching many superhero movies, I don't know many superhero movies, but I imagine there would be like some kind of a scene where the friend of the superhero just happens to be around, sees stuff going down, and is like, oh, it's you, and then just like knows about it. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to that person later, and then you're like, what were you doing fighting this big monster or whatever. So like it would be, you know, drops down in front of CJ, looks at him, leaves, goes and does whatever else he does. But it gives CJ the information like, oh, you're out and about with, you know, scary dragon skull, you know, appearance. So what's going down? Kind of a thing. And it could be, yeah, honestly, at this point in the story, it's probably going to be like magic item smugglers, probably. You know, that like magic being rarer in the future. I say future, it's like later in that time period where it's more modern and magic is more rare. Magic items would probably be highly prized, and also probably just maybe various levels of legal. Unsure about that, but just like something sought after and also potentially dangerous, especially if other people like don't have magic to defend themselves or anything. So it's just like various levels of like, whoops, stuff might be bad if this falls into the wrong hands, sort of thing. And so he might be, you know, like Dragon Skull guy might be like going like, you know what, I need to go find some magic items to keep them from falling into the wrong hands, etc. And then CJ's like, you were supposed to be on vacation or something, you know, like some sort of like dynamic that shows the character dynamic as opposed to just like the events that are happening. Because I do prefer to. I'm also taking a drink of water because I've been talking a lot. But it's different dynamics between the characters that kind of gives you clues, insights to the character themselves and how they interact with other people. Because I feel like CJ would probably be the type to be like, you know, like a concerned friend, but also when stuff, you know, when it gets down to business, then he's also very capable. So, you know, like you have a team of capable, team, quote unquote, they're maybe not necessarily friends with each other all the time, but you got a team, quote unquote, of capable people, who also needs to fight a capable enemy. Well, it could be a man versus self. It could be a man versus nature. It like flips between different, what's the word? Conflicts, I guess. It flips between different conflicts at different points in the story. So sometimes it's man versus nature. Sometimes it's man versus self. Also, depending on what draft it is, it's sometimes like super man versus self and just like very like internal into his head, or whoever's head. But for the most part, it's like the dynamic between the four of them, mostly. Also, I'm going to maybe move this slightly so that you can kind of see them all at the same time. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, so you got this four dynamic. You got the... yeah, grumpy, very grumpy, generally nice, generally panicky. This guy, panicky skittish, which actually does match lightning a little bit. Two grumpy people are both ice, they're both cold. I don't know. I'm not trying to lean too hard into the meanings as far as that goes. Because like CJ has his fire in most versions, but he's not super hot-tempered and he's not mean. Well, he can be kind of stern sometimes, but he's not like hot-tempered or mean or anything. So there is that. I'm also, can I group a group? Can that happen? It can happen. So I can just turn on these guys and then turn it back off. That's great. Okay. Turning off these guys, turning back on. So I have 4 frames of like the start of a story of a scene that I actually didn't intend. Because I had a scene and it was this. And it's usually just this image, and it could be like overlooking a city, it could be raining, it's usually raining. It could be two of them. It could be Leland and Sterl, both in that, like the dragon skull kind of form thing. It could be hiding, like hiding under like an overhang, like a fabric overhang over a store is a awning, I think. So they're like hanging out like underneath like an awning, a fabric awning, but also like a half demolished kind of like platform thing. So it like depends on like where the world is at that time, because the world's, also for the world building, a lot of world building, which I've got a lot done in when it was a D&D campaign. Like you have a lot of world building there that like some, depending on what time period it is, divided into 4 time periods. I like the number 4. Depending on what time period it was, it would have different levels of magic, different levels of like safety, general safetiness, because there's like in particular in Alduin, the world's name is Alduin. In particular in fall, in the fall section of, because split into spring, summer, fall, winter. Split into that. The fall is typically like more like war, like stuff's happening, a lot of stuff is just like collapsing in front of you, that sort of thing. Winter is more like there's sort of recovering, it's more modern, there's less magic, but it's also like it's winter. It's heading towards like end of the world, which may not actually be the end of the world because there might be time loop things happening. There might be other stuff happening. So end of the world might actually not be end of the world, but like beginning of the world isn't also technically the beginning of the world either. So like it's interesting. At least in this whole story thing. So if this was set in say winter because modern, then the existence of Dragon Skull Guy would actually be super startling to like anyone, and he'd be, like CJ would be more like, what are you doing? Why do you look like that? Kind of a thing. And be more like concerned, for his friend. And if it was spring, it would be like, CJ might not have met this guy yet, so it would just be scary as in like, wow, you're a scary crocodile-looking creature, not a crocodile dragon. But like, it would be just like, you look scary, I am concerned for my own safety, sort of concerned. As opposed to, I'm concerned for your safety, buddy, because we're in the middle of winter and it's, like, just, you look magical. So there's all of that happening. I still love how soft this is. Which is many, 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 many layers of the airbrush tool, basically. So then, like this shot in particular, if it was spring, it might be like reconnaissance, and this might be like a just growing sort of town with like lamplight or like torches or something. Like it would just be like brand new, and he would just be more like reconnaissance. If it was potentially either summer or fall, like mid to late summer or fall, then it would just be more like getting ready for battle sort of thing. So it all depends on the context of like what time period it is, basically. And I feel like that's more what I'm focusing on as far as like time rather than time travel, because whenever I try to introduce time travel into this, it doesn't work great. It kind of works, but it doesn't work entirely how I want it to and how I want to tell the story, so it's like, it sort of works, kind of. I still love that. It's so good. That looks like a natural, like you actually just like had a light source and it was just dark. I love that. I love that. Me enjoying my own, however I made the lighting and stuff. And then this lighting is a little bit more rough. I don't really want to touch it over here, but I might kind of polish that right here. Oh, that layer is not available. It's this layer. I'm also going to try to use the pen, not the mouse. Because I could use the mouse, it just usually doesn't come out quite the same way that I want it to. So I'm going to try to smooth this out. And make this like a little bit more like ease into a gradient rather than to Come on, I want more. I want more yellow to go that way. I want more yellow to go that way. It's close. That's also... How is this yellow going that way? That's a bit better, I think. Maybe I want it to be like a little bit more of a harsh boundary between this dark purple and the yellow, but I am kind of liking where this is going. Also... Nope, I did something. I don't like it. There we go. I'm gonna leave this alone for now. Well, maybe mess it with it a little bit. That's not super bad. I mean, it's not bad, but it's also, like, it's not quite where I want it to be, because, like, the lighting in this shot is entirely, like, diegetic. This is the same thing with here. Same thing with here, pretty much. And then this is a little bit more of, like, an unnatural lighting situation, that it's, like, it doesn't look like it's coming from any particular source within the scene, but it just it would need to be... Like, what if there was, like, a car with headlights, like, right between them? That sort of a thing. Like, it would be, like, really startling, but I need, like, startling lighting can be diegetic, but it also can be stylistic in order to, help push forward whatever meaning the scene needs to have. So, surprise, giant light source in the middle of the two of them, it could be headlights. So I could kind of develop it more like with more of a headlight sort of reference, and then both of them lean more into backlit. Although I do really love where CJ is right now as far as that lighting, so I might save a copy of that before I mess with CJ. Just in case I don't like where I end up, because then if I don't like where I end up, then I can't go back if I didn't save a copy. So I might save a copy of that, and then mess with CJ's lighting later. And then headlights in the middle, and then that'd just be surprising. And then they would definitely be, like, way heavier shadowed on, like, this side, and then, like, really, really bright light on the edge right here. But even with, like, a bright light in the middle, there can still be, like, a little bit of fill light. So there can be, like, a little bit of extra highlights in the edges, potentially, if there's surrounding lights that also give fill light. Which, great thing about drawing all this as opposed to, like, setting it up in real life is that I can just, like, make a decision that a light source is over here, and then it just happens. I don't have to, like, set up the light myself. I don't have to set up the lighting fixture. I don't have to find power for it. I don't have to worry about the battery life. Lighting just exists. That is so good. And also, the CJ like this, you kind of see a side of him, because he's friendly, but you also kind of see a side of him that's, like, more serious, like when stuff gets down to business, sort of aesthetic. I get, not aesthetic, but just like a facial expression, like when stuff gets serious, because it's like Samwise is super friendly, but is also pretty serious when stuff gets serious. And like, we gotta do the thing. And so now, knowing like they're both friends, this might be winter. He might not actually be supposed to be doing stuff in Dragon Skull form out in the city, because that's dangerous in itself. And then they would talk, and it would probably go like a shot reverse shot. So we'd have like this guy talking, and then this guy, and then the emotions would change, and so it would be kind of like a little bit more of like this is a 2-shot right now, but like if it's just like one and the other, then it would be like it would be a shot like, this, and then cut to, oh, that looks cool. That looks scary in itself. I don't blame CJ for being kind of scared of this random amalgamation of light and shadow. That is kind of scary. That's fun. But like then it would cut to like, like CJ over on this side, and then cut back to over here, and then they're just talking. That sort of thing would happen, although I would need to draw both of the sides, and it would probably I would need to switch it up a little bit. Like, I'd probably keep them on, like, one side or the other, with an emphasis, like, if one of them is centered, that might be, like, an emphasis, sort of shot. And then, if that, they're both talking, and if, depending on how the scene ends, it could either end on, like, a close-up on a facial expression or something, or it could end on, like, a an extreme long shot of like one of them walking away. It's like this. It would be like a great bookends to the entire scene. That one of them was walking away. Like instead of this being CJ, is that you got CJ right here, and then, you know, like the dragon skull guy is walking away. So like that would be like a really nice wrap up bookends sort of a thing. Although I might not want the buildings to be in exactly the right place, because CJ's supposed to be walking. So he's supposed to be like not in the same location that as he was in this frame, because he's still kind of walking a little bit. Time passes, even though this would be a crosscut, and this would just be like, this is happening in this location. This is happening at the same time at a different location. That's just cross-cutting. But then if he's looking behind him and, you know, he's just walking, that kind of furthers, he's moving. So he would not be in the same location. I wouldn't use the same building configuration as in this shot, but it would be very similar as like someone's walking away. That's actually really good. And I'm maybe just gonna like sketch that out really quick. Because I feel like I might be at the point where I'm like, hi Cross, I'm drawing, I'm drawing. Because I'm kind of like at a break point where I'm like, I have drawn things, and now I just want to sit back and look at the pretty things that I've drawn, but I will kind of make a reference if I can get the right... Why is it not? I'm using a blending tool. Yeah, I'm drawing. How are you doing? No, not that big, not that big. I need actually this to be kind of visible, but maybe like not. What is it? What did I do? Is that that's not opaque, is it? Maybe it's just an optical illusion. Very interesting. What are the subjects? I'm gonna draw this real quick, and then I will explain everything. Maybe not everything, most things. Okay, so then... Dragon Skull guy walking away. Maybe he's a little bit closer. Well, you also got Rex and Go by. He looks like a bug. He looks like an insect like that. But, he's walking away, and then you also got, you hold on... Is that actually a full... No, I need to... Can that... Aha! I need the full color of that, and then that can go away, and then I can put this here, and then I can draw this guy. Tell me the stuffs. I will. I need to sketch this before it leaves my brain. He's concerned. He's got the distinctive CJ hair, I guess. I don't like how that looks. That's somewhat better. Let's make it slightly better. He's just standing there watching his friend leave. Give him actual shoulders, maybe. Shoulders are important. I'm also doing this all in the same layer, I realize, because I'm erasing some of the street, but that's fine. Okay. Friend, he's just watching his friend. He looks like a bug monster. I don't know what's happening. Okay, so that's the sketch. I make such pretty pictures with pretty lighting, and then like bug monster. Anyway, okay. Hi Cross. This was my example of focus, depth of field. Yes, because it was like rolling Play-Doh, and I remembered that. An analogy. Anyway, this is my I realized, I'm like, you know what? I have a story that I've been having ongoing in different iterations of for like 10 years. I kind of want to make an animatic of some of it. Why don't I just stream it? And like, why don't I just talk about it? Because that feels like something I could talk about, and it was actually what I was trying to do with YouTube before Minecraft, and I was just not feeling it at the time for whatever reason, or I was coming at it from a different angle, so it didn't really work. And so now, after me trying and experimenting with different art streams several times, and like I kind of know the dynamic of like how I work best while streaming, so I'm like, I think I can do this. So We got the gang's all here. We got the gang all here. We got Mr. Panicky Guy Leland, who has he does have a navy cloak, but that's his actual color scheme is like this golden green and lighter green, and he's got like lightning powers, and he's got like a time motif. The gang, yes. He's got lightning powers, he's got a time motif. All of this was actually started from a D&D campaign, series of campaigns that I DM'd. So, like, a lot of this is, like, world-building stuff that some of it carries over from D&D, but it's not really D&D mechanics anymore. But we got Leyland, who was my protagonist, like, my favorite NPC. He was a divination wizard originally, and kind of panicky, a little bit grumpy, you know, that sort of thing. He was originally, like, half drow, as in, like, half high elf, half drow. So, sometimes he's an elf, sometimes he's not. But he's got lightning, time magic. He's, you know, the whole divination wizard thing, seeing the future stuff. So time. You and your time people actually, so consider that chicken has like teal. Hold on, let me paint this. Chicken has like a teal thing. If the thing will work. Will it work? No, it's a group within a group. That's why it won't work. Chicken's got, like, a teal thing going on. He doesn't have lightning, but, like, these two also have royal themes sometimes. So, like, Leland and Chicken have a very similar archetype. Very, very similar archetype. Yes, Chicken's teal. Yeah. It's good, green Amelia. Yeah, so Leland and Chicken have a very similar archetype, although their stories are very different. So, you know, Chicken, you know, did, you know, some stuff. So I'm not gonna get into Chicken right now. I'm not gonna get into talking about Chicken. Yeah, that's Leland, my main protagonist. That's, my character that I've had, you know, this entire time. We got Sturl, who is more associated with, like, obsidian, also navy, also, like, blue magic. So that also has the, this over here, like a light blue. It's kind of a thing going on that I'm gonna change. Yeah, like a light blue thing going on. Sturl is in sterling silver because sometimes he's associated with like silver dragons because gold time dragon in the D&D thing he turned into time dragon. Anyway, that was a long story itself. But like sometimes silver dragons also associated with ice magic, which also makes sense because silver dragons in. I actually don't remember what silver dragons are aligned elementally in actual D&D, but in my world they're usually at the poles, and the poles are also coincidence magic, you know, themed. My blue is just Amelia blue. That's a blue guy. Yeah, I can see it, because then if you put it next to Amelia pink, then it matches, and then, like... Yeah. And then, like... but Amelia's pants would actually be more like on like a gray, but it's also similar to Sturl. Anyway, I use a lot of similar themes. Anyway, so we got that. Sturl is usually like a brotherly sort of character. They don't always get along, but they're usually like associated. They're brothers usually. There are exceptions. There is some versions of the story where stuff happens, and I'm not getting into that right now. But Sturl is usually the brother. They're usually sometimes associated with royalty. So like, Leland would be the one that's like good at combat and good in stressful situations, like on the field. However, he's really bad at like diplomacy and like actual like administrative kingly stuff. So Sturl would be good at like the administrative stuff and the diplomacy, but he's less good in the field. But also associated with like silver dragons, ice, coincidence magic. Sometimes there are some drafts where this angry little guy, and Sturl are the same guy, because also coincidence magic, because also ice, because also grumpy, because all those reasons. But this guy is Ice King. Very, very basic sketch of Ice King, who's sometimes bald, sometimes not. But the cloak is not actually a cloak. It's just like magic wings that are like color coded. Also, his eyes are sometimes like that. sometimes. I think he can turn it on and off, if I remember correctly. So, like, that doesn't always happen. But the cloak are just like I call them wings. It's just like giant magic appendages, and then 2 of them are red and 2 of them are blue, and then they're just kind of big, and you can manipulate stuff with them, and, you know, like magic. Sometimes, well, sometimes not. Okay, listen, like, all of these guys are shapeshifters. They can look however they want. Partly because they were all dragons in the D&D version of the story. So, like, shape-shifting because dragons, because it makes sense. And then that just carried over in one way or another, because I'm like, this is convenient. This is very plot convenient, but they usually tend to look like themselves. But he's just angry sometimes, and he's just living out in the... Shifters, it is. It really is. That's actually not one of the main points of the story. That was just sort of, like, glossed over, because, like, the fact that, like, this guy with Mr. Dragon Skull happens to be Mr. Dragon Skull, that part was actually kind of glossed over. Like, that was just, like, it's more like other more important pressing details are presented, less so that he looks like that. Anyway, so we got Ice King. Ice King is usually at the poles, also coincidence magic, also just, like, living in freezing conditions that no one else could potentially live in, but he's just there. He's also the grumpy one that tends to fix everyone else's problems, that he just shows up and fixes things, sometimes. So it's kind of hard to, you know, sometimes it can kind of come off like a deus ex machina, so I try to avoid that I'm just like, this just is fixed suddenly. Like, I want it to have a reason. But also, this guy has some sort of, like, sometimes, I say sometimes, because this is, like, drafts of stories over the course of 10 years that are very different from each other, in most cases. This guy also has memory manipulation powers, cough chicken. So several things that I use in one iteration of a story, I can sometimes use similar themes. So he can sometimes be the secret villain. He could be like thought he was a villain, but he's actually good. He can just sometimes be just like, you know, like, it's one of those powers that he ends up being cast as a villain, plus his demeanor, plus him, you know, living out in the middle of nowhere. You know, that sort of thing. It's just easy to cast him as a villain, basically. So I'm not actually sure if I want to keep him as a villain, but it's just like, it drives the story forward in one way or another. And then this little bean is CJ, who originally in the D&D version was a copper dragon, so I kind of kept him as, you know, like an orange kind of palette, usually. And he's the Samwise of the group. He's just the reliable friend who's also capable. Also, I mentioned it before, CJ, the name came from the fact that in my writing, I would write down the acronym CD, which is Copper Dragon. So Copper Dragon says this. And so then I just turned that into, why did I just turn that into CJ? That's a name. And so his name was actually an acronym. And depending on certain versions, there's another couple of names that actually just turned into a thing because it was originally an acronym in my writing. And I'm like, well, that actually sounds pretty cool, so I'll just use it. So that's fun. And then CJ has fire powers, is usually like the lighthearted guy, you know, even though he has fire powers, he's not like hot-headed or anything like that. So he's just nice. Also, he's got a camera. He's got a movie camera, because in the D&D version of all of this, I had a homebrew. I did a lot of homebrew. Most of it was like world building. Some of it was like class and background. When I first got into stream, I said the orange one kind of looks like you. You know what? I'll take it. The way that I would draw the director's hairstyle would actually be like something closer to like this. That's just, no. Sort of something like that. Maybe not super floofy, but just like sort of like a side bangs sort of a thing, like this. Boop. Yeah, something like that. But I can't see it because I still got this swoopy doop thing. I'm gonna hold on. Nope. No. I'm gonna actually copy this and move this somewhere else because that's nice. I want to keep that. Cool. What was I saying? Copper Dragon. Is the shirt? I guess. The director has a zipper shirt though, so I wouldn't call it bone it up. I can see the similarities though. What was I saying? I was talking about CJ. Cinema Bard. So, I did some homebrew stuff, including making a class, and one of those classes was a Cinema Bard, and which is basically just the spell focus is a cinematograph, which is a real thing. It's a combination, like, camera projector from the beginning of film history, and so I'm like, you take that, make it shoot lightning and fire, and then you've got a custom class. It's a zipper and everything. Yeah, it's a zipper. It's like a jacket. I wear a lot of jackets IRL, which is just zippers. Mostly because I don't like sweaters, because I don't like having a sweater to pull over my head, so I wear a lot of jackets. Let's see. The camera. So I made this, like, lightning shooting camera, and I intended it to be more of, like, an evocation focused thing, but it ended up being more of, like, a spell copying thing. And then, like, there's a whole... you know, you could make the argument that, like, it's cinema, it's illusion, school of magic. And I'm like, actually, I was going for evocation. But you could also make the argument for conjuration because it's spell copying. So it's just a whole big pile of different schools of magic, basically. And that's fine. So I took, you know, that class was the D&D version of that class. And then when this turned into more of, like, a novel sort of story, then I'm like, what if he's just still, like, a director? Which is funny that you say he looks like the director, because he's also the equivalent of the director. He's a director in this world. He's, like, the only cinema person in this world. Because he takes his camera and goes around and, like, documents things, and sometimes it's really plot relevant that he filmed something. Because there's one version of the story where, like, hold on. Yeah, there's one version of the story where these two are, like, looking at, like, a slides of film. Maybe not slides, but, like, well, sometimes slides. Like, little scraps of film and a projector. There's, like, a little projector screen, and they're talking about it, and, like, stuff happened, and there was, like, combat and whatever. And then Leland asked who gathered these images, basically. And then Ice King is like, it was CJ! This guy! And so that's, in one version of the story, that's how they meet. So that's fun. So he's Cinema Bard guy, and it's, other than, like, the D&D class being, like, it's a Bard class, it is magical, it's a spell focus, other than that, the actual camera and, like, you know, CJ being a cinema person, in this world is debatably magical. It's not inherently magical, it can just still be, like, standard movie magic. You know, it could just be, like, standard. It's not inherently, like, fantasy magical, but it's just movie magic. Or it could just be, you know, standard, you know, this is just, slightly magical in some way or another. So that's fun. So, like, my story is basically, like, many combinations and different theme and variations of events that happen with basically these four. Like, there's a lot of characters, but I think I've narrowed it down to, like, these are the main four. Which even that is still kind of, up in the air. There is a fifth character that is really not on edge, but, like, in his existence is in question mark. So I'm gonna leave him out of it for now. But he's got a really cool design with, like, gray eyes and kind of, like, he's cool. But there's that. Let's see. So, back to, like, this is me, like, that's the backstory. That is all the backstory of this so far. There's let's see. And so then I'm doing this and I'm like, you know what, why don't I, like, try to make an animatic of some of this? Because that would be interesting, and if I stream it, then I can talk about it and kind of, like, get my thoughts out and, you, like, actually work on stuff, and then just see what happens And especially since I tried doing art stuff before and it didn't really hit well, that I'm like, this art stream didn't go quite how I wanted it to, or like this one didn't go quite how I wanted it to. And now I'm like, what if I try this? Because I can talk passionately about this for ages. And so we're trying this, and I'm trying this, and we'll see how it goes. And so far, I think it's pretty all right. And like, why not? Talk about my story and stuff, and actually make movies out of it, because I love these characters so much, and I have the images in my head of the story. So like, why not? Because like, it's really hard for me to work on a project without seeing it in my head. So considering how I can see it, then why not? Okay, so then it goes into the 4 frames that I have finished. Technically 5, but that's just a sketch. So we've got like a modern setting, but it's still modern fantasy, so there still can be magic happening, but it's basically like in a city, modern city, at night, a little bit rainy. Maybe it's like just the rain just ended, so the street is wet, and so you get a little bit of reflection on the street. But then everything else is just like, kind of like, you got this like hazy, sort of like just rained, sort of like, all the electric lights and stuff. You got someone walking down the, this, I keep wanting to say hallway. You got someone walking down this street alone. And then cut to, earlier I was doing like this great, like saying it in screenplay format. Like, like fade in exterior, like wet city street night, and just like doing all the actions and stuff. And that was great, but I'm not sure if I could replicate that at the moment. So you cut to this guy, crocodile head. It's actually dragon head, like our armored guy. Overlooking the city. Basically, I love the lighting coming on the rocks, and the rocks were really quick to draw, so I'm really happy. And that's roughly what I imagined in my head as far as what this scene is, because that image I kind of had it in my head. That pose was hard to get though, but I think I got it. So I'm just imagining, like, it starts here, guys walking down the street, you got a lot of atmospheric noises, like maybe sirens in the distance, you got footsteps that are kind of watery, you got maybe, like, metal sounds, maybe, like, people on a side street, maybe, like, a cat next to, like, a trash can, knocked over a trash can, or a raccoon or something. So you got a lot of atmosphere. And then here, the noise of the atmosphere kind of fades out, and it's a lot more distant. And then you kind of hear, like, very, very distant city stuff, and, like, it's more calm, maybe, like, an owl. Yeah. And then this guy looking over the city, kind of like menacing, but I was thinking it would sort of like there'd be a camera move that it would just sort of like crane to slowly reveal this guy, and you're like, oh yeah, and he's scary with the dragon skull thing going on. Whatever. And then this guy revealed to be CJ, the guy walking alone at night, which he probably shouldn't do, but he's also capable enough that he'll be fine. In like 95% of the cases, he'll be fine. Because magic. But it's also later in the time period of this world, so like magic is more rare, and therefore it's kind of dangerous to let people know you have it, and so it's kind of but it's also like whatever. So like he's just walking alone at night, kind of like looking behind him, because it's dark and ominous and scary behind him, and it's kind of, I love how soft this light turned out. That was many, many layers of the airbrush tool. I love it. But he's just sort of like worried, but not too worried. He's just like aware of his surroundings, more like. And then he drops in front of him. Guess who drops in front of him? And then there would be like a motion, like motion lines. Stands up, stares right at him, and me trying to sort through like, okay, based on the time period that this is set in, and how magic is treated, and how like that particular form is well known or not. What would be the reaction? And he would be scared. However, I'm pretty sure that they know each other, because this guy is this guy Dragonhead actually. Let me find it. Is either one of these two. It's either Leland or Sterl. I don't know which one. Considering it's in more of a blue tone. I'm tempted to make it Sterl. But because it's because the name of this guy would be Decay, which is also the name of my shovel in season 3. That's another thing. I could list through my tool names of recurring themes that I use. But if that's Decay, that is more likely to be Leland, because Decay being the alternate version, I guess, of time. because you think of like, I don't know, time passing, mushrooms, decaying things, you know, decomposition, etc. You kind of get that, you know, like a darker side of time that way. Yes. So it's either one of these two. Hold on. Let me get back. Okay, so if this happened in spring and they didn't know each other, then he would be like, you know, CJ would probably be like scared for his life because Scary Thing just showed up. But in winter, in the setting that it's in, where it's like modern fantasy, CJ would probably be like, what are you doing here looking like that? You're gonna get, you know, hurt or something. Or like, you know, he'd be more scared for his friend looking like that. And then this guy would probably be like on a mission trying to find like smuggled magic items to keep them safe, like keep them out of hands that are like not meant, you know, like not good hands. So he'd probably be on some sort of mission. He's still being a kind of a vigilante, sort of, that he's just like off on his own doing stuff because both of these guys are like really just like do what they want, kind of independent. They sometimes butt heads, you know, because of the brotherly sort of dynamic. They sometimes butt heads like, actually, no, maybe don't do that. No, I do what I want. He's being silly. They're all very silly. They're all very silly. We got Grumpy. We got Grumpier. Oh, whoa. That's not supposed to happen. We got Wholesome Boy, I guess. And we got Mr. Panicky, basically. And that's the dynamic of the four of them. So then this scene, if I remove that, then this scene kind of plays out in that they just sort of talk back and forth. And so you would have like a shot, reverse shot, like this, just him, and then just him, and then you get this really weird looking shadow left over, which that would be scary in itself. But you get the shot, reverse shot of they're kind of like, you know, like on one side of the screen, you know, like he's talking, and then he's talking, and then they're talking to each other, and there might be another two shot. And then the scene would probably end, if I could remove that, the scene would probably end with him walking away in this similar sort of fashion as the scene started, because nice bookends. Except he looks sort of like a bug right there. And then CJ, you know, I would want like a medium shot, like right here of CJ, where he's just kind of like looking on and like watching his friend leave and stuff. And then the background would have to be a little bit different because it's not in the same exact location as this. Because CJ was walking that way a little bit. So, anyway, so that's these 4/5 frames of stuff that I've drawn in this stream so far based on my story that I was like, this entire scene, I had no idea that I was going to make this because I just started drawing. I had this in my head, but everything else was just sort of sorted out on the fly, basically. But it is a very cool scene, and I love the lighting, and I love, like, the atmosphere. Like, because that's one of my favorite things, because Chespy was here earlier and we were talking about drawing style briefly, and my style is really heavily influenced by, like, really thick line work, and also really dramatic lighting. Thank you, yes. I'm really enjoying it. So I got thick line work and dramatic lighting, and I'm like, this feels like me, which is great. I love it. That's perfect. Because that might have been part of why I didn't like previous art streams, is because it didn't really feel like me. And now it does, because I'm telling the story that I love. So it works. Yeah, I had this picture in my head, and I'm like, well, why don't I? What's something? This was sort of on the fly. Also, I love like the orange and purpley sort of, like, it looks so good. Everyone's drawing a lot lately, even me. Yeah. Drawing is fun. I know, it also kind of helps that, like, Chespy was here earlier and said that he wanted to draw now that I'm drawing, and I'm like, you know, all your friends just end up drawing and it makes you want to draw too, and everyone's just drawing, so that's fun. Yeah, this one was on the fly, and it's like kind of constructing a scene out of nothing, but also how I know what my story is like, and also screenplay structure kind of things. That's yellow, not orange. Well, on the contrary, that is pretty orange. Yeah, I did. No, I know for a fact that I added orange to that, because like this, I just added yellow. Like maybe like the slightest touch of orange to the edge here, but like this is just yellow and like beige. And then this was also yellow and beige, but then I'm like, it didn't look quite right. And so this, no, like this beige is more of like I still want to say like electric lights. But yeah, this combination was a lot more flat, and then I just like threw in some purple, and I threw in some orange, and it suddenly looks better. And it, because I drew this first, and it was really flat. And I drew this, and I had a better sense for what colors I wanted to use. And this doesn't even have orange in it either. But then I, like, ramped this up, and I'm like, oh yeah, the atmosphere. And then this, I don't even have any orange in it either. And then, yeah, I don't have any orange in this either. But this is just, like, it looks really hazy and almost, like, kind of, like, washed out, or, like, an old photograph, or, like, something, or kind of grimy, and just whatever it is, I really like it for an establishing shot. And then the rest of it can be a little bit more lighter for whatever reason. Like, this is a distance shot. This is more focused on CJ, so it can be like, the light doesn't have to be as grimy. This is surprising. I also had the idea that this would be like, since the other things have very natural causes of where the lights are, and, you know, like, you can kind of imagine there's, like, a light over here or something, and then this is just kind of wild. I imagine, like, what if there's headlights? What if there's, like, car headlights? Not at risk of being hit, but, like, what if there's car headlights in the middle? So you got this, like, really, really bright, startling thing and light source in the middle of them. So I'm going to probably finesse it so that it looks more like headlights. And then this is just a sketch. with Bugman, I guess. So yes, that happened, but yeah, I just sort of wanted, I'm like, what if I just throw stuff together and, like, just make animatics of stuff? And this is the kind of story that I can make an animatic of one scene, and then the next animatic I make is, like, the same exact characters in the same exact world, but then the second scene contradicts the first scene, like, a lot. And they're both canon. Like, the kind of, like, paradoxical stuff that I'm like, it's only in a DirectorAmelia story, apparently. And I could make it like a alternate universe kind of thing. I'm not sure if I really want to go in that direction. I am already playing around with time stuff, so it could be time related. That's also director. I could be playing around with time stuff. Gonna confuse all of us. I'm confusing myself sometimes. So if, I mean, like, I feel like I might already be confusing people with releasing season 3 slightly out of order, in whatever order I happen to edit it in. But, there is a chronological playlist. The problem with this one is that there might not be a chronological playlist, so yeah, this one is at risk of being very, very confusing. Yeah, I don't know, I really want it to be like a really, like, slice of life kind of thing, because it's, like, the character dynamics that really interest me, and so whatever mechanics happen, I don't really care, because, like, the mechanics could vary day to day. And that might be part of why, like, D&D, like, was, like, it being a D&D campaign was very interesting, but I was also homebrewing so much. Because I'm like, no, I want it to go this way, not how the rules say it is, which, like, homebrew is totally fine. But the fact I was homebrewing so much, I'm like, it makes sense for it to be kind of its own thing. Which is also fine, but also the fact that it started as a D&D campaign and there's a lot of influence there makes sense. And so I could potentially turn it back into a campaign if I wanted to, which also probably wouldn't happen, which... yeah, I could if I wanted to. I don't know. Yeah, there's also... also, there was one version, back when, like, Leland, you know, D&D character Leland, back in the campaigns, Leland did have a wife, and she was so flat, and I didn't know what to do with her, the entire thing. I just find it, I just struggle writing female characters, apparently, so all these, they're all guys. So, like, but, like, also, I'm just like, but that one time that he had a wife, I'm like, I feel so bad about her, because she just sort of, like, vanished. And so I'm like, okay, I might throw in something, but also don't, because, like, I'm dealing with, like, really long time frames, and so I don't want it to be a story where any of these guys outlive someone and they're torn up over it, although, actually, I say that. And that will probably, like, without a doubt happen, but, I don't want it to be his wife. They're probably going to be torn up over something. because this is dealing with like a long time frames, like really long, like time frames of an entire world happening. Because I don't want to say they're immortal because they can still die, but they can come back, kind of. But also it depends. So it's like debatably immortal. So they're gonna be torn up over something. I don't know. Because it's also like the mechanics that I'm dealing with: time, coincidence, memory, cinema? Question mark. I don't know. So my tools in season 3 were named happenstance, coincidence, decay, entropy, paradox, parallax, and potential. Potential being my wings. So I just like using words like that, just like as themes. And so coincidence, and I suppose paradox, predated me making those tools. Like I definitely used coincidence. I definitely used time travel stuff before I even made those tools. But then I was like, making them like, actually, I really like the concepts of decay and potential. So potential is in here somewhere. Decay is potentially the scary guy. And so I just like making it fit with those themes and like how to, explore those themes as like concepts, but also apply them to people, basically. But like not strictly, because it's not like he's gonna act like coincidences all the time. He's still got his own stuff going on. He's still got his own personality. I actually love this. Thank you. I need more water. And I gotta remember to grab the water and not the Pringles, because that would be counterproductive to being hydrated. Yeah, so like, also I'm using a lot of hand motions toward my screen that you can't see. I also sometimes pick up my pen and point at the screen, but you also can't see that. So I'm trying to use my mouse to point, but like, yeah, a lot of it is like it's grand scale, but it's also super personal scale at the same time. So like you get this like really like seemingly different concepts, but also like themes of like it's slice of life, but it's also like super grand scale with the entire world and so many different things. He's got to do it too. Yeah. I talk with my hands. I don't know. So, and it's also like geography. Like when this was a campaign, I also like mapped out the entire world, which was admittedly like a fantasy version of the Earth. It's just like the Earth, but you take it and move it over here, and you like this, but it's over here. Like imagine like this place was in the location of this place, but had the climate of this other place. And so you just keep doing that over and over and over again. So it's familiar in some ways, but also really not. So it's, like, for example, one of the major cities, there was in one of the campaigns, one of the major cities that we had visited was in the equivalent of Florida, but it was in a desert. So it wasn't swampland at all. Swampland was actually Texas. I just swapped things around. And then a lot of the naming schemes that I used was actually like, taking like, directors that I know or like particular names and then kind of like swapping them around. I do that with like, Latin roots too. Like, the world's name is Alduin. Some of that is at Latin roots. Like definitely not Latin, maybe not Latin, but there was like root words of things that I combined into a word. So like a lot of the fantasy names that I make, maybe not a lot, because none of these are good examples of that, but some of the names that I make, especially for, like, places and names of people, is that I slap together 2 words and then it has a meaning based on those 2 individual, like, root words, or whatever. Or, like, especially, like, Latin just words in general, like, Latin vocabulary. Like, I take a word, it means something, I slap together with something else, and then it means, like, a collection of things. So, like, a lot of my D&D characters that were not these guys had names that were similar to that. I have to go. I'm doing stuff early tomorrow morning. And okay, go to sleep. Thank you for sticking around and chatting and listening to me ramble about my story and art and stuff. So somebody just pulled over tonight. Oh no, yeah. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Good night, enjoy sleep. Yep. I don't know. I actually think I feel like I should maybe like at least try to have better lighting on this frame. I'm maybe gonna redraw the bug creature later. But at the very least, I can go. That was actually a good break of me just talking about things, and then working out later. Give my brain a rest for actually drawing. If I just talk about my story more, I get a break, and then I can actually draw more later. Which I'm using my mouse for this, which I should use my actual thing, the actual pen of the tablet that I own. A little bit of orange, and that's going to be covered up by like yellow and beige and stuff for the most part. And then, you know what? I actually don't mind this. Like this, this is another example of like I didn't really make it realistic lighting, but it works dramatically, so I could try to make it realistic lighting-wise. Like, I could find some sort of diegetic explanation. And that needs to be more white, which turns it into a sort of a beige, kind of. Actually, I'm gonna put more beige in there, actually. I don't want it to be too illuminated right there, because he's also, like, not necessarily the good... Well, he is the good guy, but I want it to have more of an ominous air than it really, because even though he's a good guy, I do want it to have sort of an, the lighting around him. I want there to be an ominous air. And so, as opposed to, like, this up here... Well, let me remove this. That has more of, like, it's just atmosphere. You don't really know one way or another if anyone's in danger until you get to, like, that frame where he's kind of concerned. Mildly concerned. Yeah, okay. Actually, I'm going to make more natural lighting than this, because that's looking kind of not how I want it to be, but then he could also do this, so that he's more in shadow and CJ is in more light, and that makes more sense to me. And put more orange, and then I'm gonna make this a whole lot more dark, because it doesn't need... There's not, like, a light source inside the road, I don't think. However, it still would be probably a little bit slick if I picked the right brush. I don't even know if this is the right brush. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I was doing something similar, something analogous to this. Yeah, so it's still kind of slick. I actually really like that. Yeah. Ooh, like that. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so then airbrush some of this into being slightly less purple, like very overtly purple. And then maybe darken up this, and then, yeah, now we're getting back into some of the lighting that was very similar in this frame, if I could press it and actually keep it open. Yeah, this frame had the atmosphere, but it also had, like, this kind of beige as a background. Okay, where are my layers? It's this one, and I need to remove that. And I'm going to group all of these layers together. Quick group that. And then that is a sketch. That is the light reflection. It's the mess of background lighting. It doesn't need to look pretty, because eventually it will actually... Actually, no, I don't... I still want some light source coming from CJ. Not from CJ, but, like, around CJ. So, this can still be a little bit lighter. This can be a little bit lighter. This middle section in where he's leaving can be the darker area. And it's still the orange, and it's sort of like you're looking out at lights and a city through a window that has rain on it. That's what I was trying to say earlier. That's essentially what it's doing. And also this, yeah, if I could get the right, this, it's not, this, that line in particular has been bothering me, so that's gone. Okay, and then bug guy that is actually like, it's a dragon thing. Dragon skull vigilante type guy? Yes. But from behind, so it looks like just like a bug, I guess. Accidentally. It's also just like the most basic silhouette. So as I refine it, I'll probably make it look a little bit more like a skull. Maybe the back of the neck is also a skeleton, so you can kind of see, yep, that's a skull. And then also armor, which right now it does not look like armor. But also the armor, ooh, whenever I get to that, the armor can be shiny. And then the armor can also reflect some of this light, but that would be like very advanced whatever I'm doing. Also, I don't need it to be too detailed, because like I'm happy with this being like, maybe not the final, but like close to the final. Like I'm fine with this like thick line work and kind of like a little bit of the rough edges for being like the final thing, because that is what my drawing style is usually. It's just thick line work. And I don't need to make it filled in, because I actually really like this style of I'm not filling in the proper colors for whatever like the outfit is supposed to be, or his hair or anything. It's just the lighting of the atmosphere and the lighting of the area, which I really like the style of. I love this. Just perched on a rock, overlooking the city, looking kind of ominous. It looks actually sort of silly, as I emphasize it, but it's, at the very least, very cool looking. And just me, like, loving the stuff that I've already done, it just makes me happy. Because sometimes I'll be like, you know what, that's alright, but it's, I could do better, and I'm happy with this. I think it's the lighting. I'm focusing way more on lighting, which I love doing lighting. I love drawing lighting and stuff, and just thinking about that. Because it's also, it hits the part of my brain that, you know what, that's very different. That is so different. Because that's really, okay, so, can I get, that's almost like cartoony in that it's so much brighter. However, do I want to change it? Because if I change it to be more darker in tone, what layer, what was I, where was I? Okay, there. Interesting. I want to say it's just a brighter, so, my eyedropper tool of the really, really, really dark color from, like, over here didn't actually work too well. So I've either got, like, way too much layered on here already, and I kind of needed to, like, dial it back or do something else. Which is fine, because it's digital. If this were, like, another, okay, so maybe I should just make the brush smaller so I'm not, like, catching the edges of everything else. Maybe make some of this lighting a little bit more contained, and then make it a little bit less goofy in that it's very purple and dark, because I'm trying to catch ominous. That should be in slight silhouette. And I mean very slight. I should make it more purple, because that's starting to get into some colors, you know. Let me just... How about that? That's not bad. Not bad at all. That was the slight silhouette highlight that I wanted, I think. So maybe want this to be a little bit darker. It's just like finessing it. That's not too bad. That is slightly more in the ballpark of the tone that I wanted, because I didn't want it to be goofy, although that conversation that happens between these two could end on a comedic note. It could. But this, like, walking away feels way more dramatic and way more like that he's just gonna do whatever he wants. So, this guy is concerned for his friend's health and safety, I guess. Potentially. Or maybe, like, just concerned about the broader situation in general, because the situation could be just, like, magic in the world going away, or the magic items being stolen, or something. There's, like, a lot of situations they've got it rough. They've all got it very rough in dealing with the stuff in their world, basically. Yeah, I do like the lighting there. And I do really like the orange that's right here, because that's the, like, looking through a rainy window at the city. That's really good. Although, it's still really purple. Although maybe that's just because I used purple draft lines. Let's see. Okay, so that's... If I use yellow instead, does it make a difference? If I use the correct brush, in the correct size, does it make a difference? In the roughly correct size. This is also draft. Also, that should be... I wonder if it really does make a difference. That, like, me using purple just turned it into purple, like, the entire thing, and it emphasized purple way more, but I should really be emphasizing yellow. Not quite, not quite. And it messed up at the very bottom there. Eh. Yeah, close enough. Yeah, that's good. And so then I take this, which also has other sketches on it, and then... Okay, how about I just see it without this? That already looks better! That already really emphasizes warm tones already! So then I take this and remove the purple, and then put the characters back, with now instead warm city buildings. Also, there's a... whatever, I'm gonna try to fix that in a moment. Also, as far as animating, I am starting with keyframes. Like, all of these are just, like, keyframes. Like, I get the image, it's essentially storyboarding. Actually, that looks really good even without lines, because it sort of makes, like, this, like, illusion, like, that you can kind of just see realistic buildings that are kind of blurry just outside of your field of vision, basically. That's really cool. Do I want to keep the yellow? Anyway, the yellow lines do match better. That matches the style a whole lot better. I just didn't even know that, like, yellow versus purple lines would, like, make that much of a difference, but it does. With just your perception of all the other colors surrounding it. So that's fun. So CJ's concerned about his friend. We got better established, consistent continuity atmosphere. That's good. Yeah, so whenever this conversation happens, so, like, yeah. Animatic, just, like, this happens, and it's storyboard, but they also function as keyframes. So if I need it to be polished, I can also, like, just take, you know, since CJ's on another layer, I can just take CJ and, like, turn him around or, like, make him keep walking or something, and so I already have a background done. And so then I just keep going through, like, iterations of this and that. I might redo the background here, I don't know, I just there's gonna be, like, headlights or something. But if I need to, polish this, I can. If I want to keep it the same, I can. There's a quote from someone, about writing. It's that, like, first drafts are just shoveling sand into a sand pail to later make sandcastles. And sometimes you just make a sandcastle that's just right off the bat. But, like, that's really good. So, like, that's you've got to start somewhere. So at least, like, something's on the page for you to work with. This is sand in a bucket, and it's actually a really good sand in a bucket in this case. And so I could work with it and polish it if I wanted to, or I could leave it as is depending on how finished I want the animatic to look, or animation if I wanted to really add more and more frames. And if I do add a lot of frames, I probably wouldn't do like a digital framing, like, not digital keyframing, like I wouldn't move images digitally, unless I really had to as like a special effect thing. I'm thinking like After Effects kind of stuff. Like I probably wouldn't do After Effects kind of stuff. I would want to just like redraw another frame of the character and try to make that as smooth as possible because I love redrawing frames. I guess I like seeing things come to life and start moving based on just a series of images, which is just what movies are. Is just a series of images that makes it look like something's moving. So I love seeing that myself whenever I'm drawing pictures. And I'm like, yeah, I drew a picture of a character, but if I draw 5 more pictures of a character, then it kind of looks like they're moving. And if I draw 10 more pictures of that same character, that's a really smooth version of that character moving. So like I love seeing that happen before my eyes. So yes, also little director. So this is also probably going to take quite a while to build up enough of like I did stuff, build up of enough of a portfolio of like stuff that exists. This putting sand in a bucket, in order to make a finished something or other. Like this scene in particular, it's gonna take a while to finish it. So streaming it and just like I made a little bit of progress here, and I get to talk about it, and you know I just draw it, and it can be rough, and I can change it later. And like I can just, you know, talk about it and I can decide whether I like it or not later or now or whatever. And I can just think about the story and like think about where I'm going, like plot wise and script wise. It's like a lot of stuff that I enjoy in movie making. So whenever I get to finishing that, like that's why kind of why this is gonna be like a stream series I'm planning. Hopefully. We'll see how I feel about it after a couple of days. I'm like, because right now I'm feeling pretty good about it. But after a couple of days, if I'm like, no, it didn't really go how I wanted it to, then I might not continue. But considering how this is going pretty well, I'd say it's a pretty good shot that it would go pretty well. Because compared to me drawing Minecraft mobs from memory, and it's sort of not really working out that well. And then the other time when I was drawing rocks, and then a warm-up as for drawing other rocks, that turned out well. I like how that piece turned out, and it's not entirely done. It was just like I blocked in a whole lot of the color, so it turned out, you know, it's mostly finished, and I like how it turned out so far. But like as far as a streaming style of me talking, I didn't really like it so much because it just didn't. Because I like talking passionately about stuff, and I can talk for ages about stuff I'm passionately about. I'm passionate about, but it's, you know, finding that groove of like I'm actually doing it and I'm actually talking is kind of tricky. Kind of have to coax yourself into it sometimes. So I'm like, what can I talk about for ages, and what can I actually make animatics of, and like what story do I have in front of me that I've had in front of me for like 10 years? So we'll see what happens with all this. Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna like just... That might be close to the end of the stream, because I feel like I've done a lot of stuff. A lot of really good stuff. I still love that. A lot of really good stuff. And I can feel my voice going. And I made a lot of progress, and I talked about a lot about my characters and stuff, and that's more of a draft there. But I definitely talked a whole lot more about my characters. And so I've got the basics and the baselines of like, this is the story, these are the characters I'm working with. Maybe not even the story. I don't think I even touched on most of the plot of the story. But like, it's like, I've got the characters, and since it's more of a slice of life, then the story is about the characters in the first place. So it doesn't really matter what the plot is, because the plot is a lot of different things, because it's focusing on these characters. So I feel like I might wrap up stream there. Thank you all for coming and chatting and lurking and talking and watching and all that. I may or may not be back next week. Usually I stream on like a weekly basis, but I might not. That's been sort of thrown out of schedule. So if I fall back into a schedule, then I might be back next week. If the schedule is still thrown off, then I might not be back next week. But at least I tried a thing, and I feel good about it. And so I might be back next week with, like, Stardew, maybe, but maybe more drawing. We'll see. But like I'll be around. I will be around at some point with more drawing and more Stardew and more just like maybe Minecraft solo or something. Maybe an Orthobox. Because I have stuff to build there. Both Minecraft things, both solo and Orthoblocks. I've got stuff to do before next stream. So if I stream either of those two again, I needed to do stuff in between. So Stardew, I could just plug and play. I could just start it. The art stuff, I could just start it. So like it's probably more likely to be art or Stardew. So there's that. Again, thank you for watching and chatting and lurking and watching the VOD if you're a VOD watcher. And I will see you later. Bye!